welcome to another episode of Verbal Laxative. Today we have me, Jason, and we also have Zinzin and Brian.
Hello.
Hey.
For Zinzin, I'm not Brian.
Oh, did we mess up the order?
No,
it's fine.
Good.
I mean, it's not like you had to say. It's not like attendance. You didn't have to say here after I say your name.
I winged it.
Hopefully,
I
mean,
took the initiative and it failed.
What do you think of that joke when he was like, "If you're not,"
I like how you just jump right into it. There's like no banter with you.
No, it's a joke. Like, when teachers say,
you just go straight into it too. You'll be like, "Hey, how's it going? Did you hear that joke about?" No,
like
you don't even say, "Did you hear about that joke?" I think you just went straight into it too.
It's like when a person gives a speech and it's like, "Okay, I gotta start with a joke." Here is my joke.
It's a common joke. Everyone heard about it because every teacher does it.
It's just the way that they enter the joke. It's almost like it's not even, "Hey, did you hear this joke?" It was like, "Hey, how's your day going?" Two guys walk into a bar.
Okay.
All right, continue with your joke.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, but do you guys find it funny? It's like, oh, if you're not here, say hi, kind of thing.
Jesus.
Jesus. And then that's how teachers take attendance.
It's always a laugh riot every time someone says something like that.
What's the joke that you hear too often that is no longer funny? Like, how the chicken crossed the road kind of thing?
Well, that one, at least it has like multiple, or it evolves, people come up with new answers for it. I don't know about, recently, but there's multiple joke answers, but none of them are really that good.
Yeah.
Chicken crossing the road is like
a... How about
it's like a child's joke.
How about the pirate one? Like, what's the pirate's favorite letter? Do you remember that
one? I more so hear the one of like, why wasn't the young pirate or whatever allowed to see the movie or whatever? And it's like, oh, it's rated R. That's when I hear now, like, favorite letter.
That was good. Well, similar to that one, because like you would say like, what is the pirate's favorite letter? And generally people will say the letter C, because he loves the C, and you'll be like, no, it's R.
I've actually never heard of anyone say C for that before.
Oh, actually, no, it's the opposite. Sorry, you're right. It would be R. People would say, oh, pirate's favorite letter is R, and you're like, no, his true love's the C. It's a bait, basically. That's the joke. But I'm not sure what the meta is now. Like, maybe the Zoomer has something else added to it.
I have not heard that joke in a long time, so I don't know if people still come up with new answers for it.
We are 3 minutes in, and it's already quite excruciating for me.
All right, let's end it here. Good episode.
One of these days, I'm going to take you up on an offer and actually end the episode 3 minutes.
Okay, I wouldn't be mad.
Here's the thing. Okay, we talk about jokes, but like jokes are used a lot in pickup. Like when you're talking to the opposite sex, like pickup lines. Pickup lines and jokes are very hand in hand.
Well, it doesn't have to be opposite sex for some people, but yes, go on.
Okay, true.
I don't want to exclude our audience or anything.
Brian is like, no, this specific instance has to be opposite sex. It doesn't.
Well, I can only speak from my personal experience, because like if you're someone who's gay, do you need pickup lines, or do you be like, hey, we're gay? Like,
what? That's their intro instead.
You don't have too many choices here. You want to hook up, and then just go from there.
Oh, that's quite an opinion you got there.
Well, I am basing this on Chinese. Like, my parents are like, "Oh, are you Chinese? I'm Chinese," and then they instantly become friends. Or, "Oh, this person will help you because they're Chinese." That's what my parents' logic was.
So, I need to date him. He's gay.
I thought you were gonna say, when you're talking about your parents, I'm like, "Oh, you're Chinese. I'm Chinese. Let's just get married." I thought that's where you're going with that, not like. Okay.
I could see that happening too. Like people who are, who have a more strict culture, that have their day within their own culture. I could see that happen.
I mean, that's a weird way to live, because it's not exactly like your parents are scraping the bottom of the barrel here. And gay people are not scraping the bottom of the barrel either, depending on where they live.
So do you think there is a point in like, is it just a matter of like, oh, just so our families get along and stuff, or do you think there's more to it for some people or some families or whatever? Because in some cases, it's like, a language barrier or something. They want to be able to talk to the significant other and such. But in other cases, is it just because like, oh, it's the same race? It has to be the same race, and that's all you're allowed to date or.
Yeah, for
get
sure.
married to.
Low key, a lot of Asian parents are just gonna be wanting Chinese.
I think it's a pure blood thing,
Chinese
isn't it?
wanting Chinese.
Is
No,
it
I
pure
think it's just cultural.
cultural?
It's cultural. Yeah. I think that's what I say. I mean, for Chinese people, it's cultural because you can get Chinese people that
You're not
look.
you're not thinking it's a Lannister thing, pure blood, keep
No,
it
no,
within the thing.
no. I think it's for Chinese. It's cultural. I think, but I have heard anecdotes and also some, I guess, some comments that like Japanese people would be more stricter on this kind of stuff. Like, I think for Chinese people, mostly is like if you can speak Chinese and then you're like whatever from whatever ethnicity from China, even if you're like if you look like a Uyghur or whatever, and you're just like brown, it's
That's what
still
I was
fine.
thinking of.
But with like the Japanese, like even if you look the same, but then like they find out that you're like low key, you're like a Korean. Some families might have like some more prestigious families might have issue with that. They find out you're Chinese, or if you're like very powerful father or whatever finds out that he's marrying his daughter off to like someone that isn't like pure Japanese and also not rich, then they will not agree to it or something like that.
It's like the royal family issue here.
Well, they
yeah.
also have like some businesses and stuff that only cater to or will serve Japanese people.
Yeah. So the Japanese are probably a little bit more into that. That Japaneseness,
It's funny
that
because
low key racism or
since
high
we're
key
talking about
racism.
Asian culture and racism, I watched Raya the Last Dragon, and specifically in the description, they reference it as Southeast Asians, but they didn't say Chinese. Because, like, I guess, well, obviously they're not Chinese, but they were very specific in the language of how they described the movie.
Chinese,
Have you-
Southeast Asian is usually like Vietnam and
Like Thailand, Philippines.
Thailand,
Indonesia, those
yeah.
countries.
Because
It's
I
like
saw
everything
Raya. I
but
thought it was
Chinese.
supposed to be like Thai or something like that, or
I think they're
Filipino.
Thai, or maybe
One of
it's
those.
Tibetan, not Filipino. Closer to Thai, maybe like Laos, maybe that type.
Didn't
That
see the
area?
movie, so I don't know what the hell's going on. But
It's
whatever.
kind of like airbenders without air or bending.
Without air.
Without air or the bending.
It's without the elemental bending. It's just
like
the
Airbender, but-
segregation.
It's like Airbender, but without anything that was in the Airbender.
They have dragons, voiced by Aquafina. So she has that raspy voice there.
Mm.
Animation was good. Story was very plain and lackluster. It wasn't very original. It felt derivative. It felt like you've seen the movie before, even without seeing it. You know what I mean? Like you could tell where it's going. You're like, oh,
Yeah, it's
I
a
mean,
template. Yeah.
yeah, it's a template. It's
Yeah,
not
cookie
Disney's
cutter.
best work. There's no music in the sense that people don't break out singing like Frozen. So it's all right.
I don't want to backtrack, but I would specifically. It is a Pixar movie.
It's not Pixar,
Which,
is it?
yeah, it is.
I thought it was a Disney movie. I'm pretty sure it's Disney.
Well, Disney owns Pixar, but
yeah, but
I
they
like
also
to
have different divisions.
differentiate. Yeah.
No, I'm serious. I don't think it's a Pixar movie.
Is it not? I could be wrong.
I don't think it is. No,
Oh,
if you look
God.
at Wikipedia's
One of you
It's
bet
Disney.
your life
Okay.
right now.
Walt Disney Studio Motion
I'll
Pictures.
take his word for it since you checked with Wikipedia.
Up the stakes.
And I'm pretty
It's too late.
sure
I already dropped the stakes.
because Pixar
Yeah.
released Soul, right? Not too long ago. So how could they have released Ray?
I don't know. Maybe they're working their fucking people like dogs. That's why they were.
No, anyways, I 100% certain that it's Pixar.
Okay. Wait,
Sorry,
not Pixar.
Disney. Not Pixar, but Disney.
Yes.
And
okay.
Pixar
Well,
released Soul like couple months ago, and that one was good. Like, did we talk about Soul?
I don't think so.
Nominated on the Oscar for animated movies. I mean, all Pixar movies are generally. But yeah, Soul is about blues.
Wait, hold on. I derailed us. Let's stick to Raya before we switch to Soul. If you had anything else to say on that,
This
that's
is
my
Brian
fault.
you're talking about, yo.
Well,
You
I'll
want us
take
to
the
stick
blame
on one topic?
for switching that time.
Anything else? I have nothing else to say. I just thought it was interesting that they use Southeast Asian to describe Asians without saying Chinese. That's like rather than
Well, I
That
don't
is
think
that
it's
kind of like
specifically supposed to be Chinese though.
well, when you say Asian, people are gonna think Chinese. I think they specifically say Southeast Asian, so that to differentiate, like, hey, this is a Southeast Asian movie or an Asian movie, but they're not Chinese. I think that's what they're
I
trying
know
to
that's
say
kind of
without
like
saying it.
yeah, yeah, it's kind of weird. I don't know. I didn't see the movie, so I don't know if it's actually like really like a big Southeast Asian like sort of theme flavor going on, or they're just trying to pick some fucking hip thing to do, or whatever, right? Like you got that one friend that says like,
Mhm.
"Oh, have you tried the fucking new Cambodian restaurant or some shit like that?" And just to be like that edgy. The edginess, like well, let's try another, even more exotic.
You mean the foodies or edgy? I guess
Foodies, yeah, I guess, yeah, foodies. Fucking,
someone who
I
goes
guess
out the
they
way.
can't. They're not really that. I don't know. Can you describe it as edgy? I mean, edgy is usually from that fucking like incel fuck, right? But well, can you like the most like I don't know, the most weird, the fringy foodies? They could be edgy too, right?
Yeah,
They are
sure.
the worst. They are the worst.
Suppose.
I just think that they used Southeast Asian just because they want to hit more regions with their movies. Like,
But I mean, like, it's like they're all different countries and they're all quite different. It's like, this is like an African movie or something. I don't know. Like Southeast Asian, they're all quite different already. I feel like
Yeah,
I think they're
culturally
just
they're
trying to
very
be.
different.
I think they were just trying to be like, yeah, like just fucking trying to
In
get
terms
hip
of the
with it.
movie, it's a pseudo Earth realm. Like they're not on Earth. Like it's a made up world.
Okay, then
So
that's even more confusing. Well,
it is,
why
but
specifically
it's just
say
the
just like
art.
a
The
Southeast
art
Asian?
itself. The
well, I'm
theme
just
of
saying
it
how
is
the
like
movie was
Southeast
described.
Asian. So if you see it, I got like the very Thai vibes kind of thing from it.
I see.
They do have
And
Thai soup in it. They have tom yum soup.
Okay.
and yeah, they did Coco recently, which was really good, and other freaking
But
regions they
Coco
did
was
like
for sure Mexico,
Ratatouille
right?
and
Yeah,
And
Coco was Mexican for sure. There's no
and
there's no
Ratatouille is
beating around the
definitely
bush for it.
Ratatouille is
France.
France, and
Yeah,
France, yeah.
like
They did,
yeah.
Brave and other movies in other regions.
Brave is
So.
definitely Ireland, right? Because like they sound so Irish.
Yeah, I'm just saying they like to hit different regions.
Oh, I see.
So
China.
since they
probably
came out
already
with
did
like
China.
Mulan and stuff, they probably didn't want to hit like direct China again.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, overall, in terms of the Asian culture, they just have it in the background. Like culturally, you can tell they're Southeast Asian, but not Chinese, I guess. But I guess
That
unless you know about other Asian cultures, you might not. You might think they're just Chinese.
I just feel like it's just they just want to do some kind of weird window dressing. I think everybody wants to do some shit like that. It's that feeling that you get if you walk into like a British pub and they serve you curry, which a lot of British pubs apparently do. But it's just like
I'd
It's their
probably
This is
local
enjoy
like
that
curry.
more than their beer.
discombobulated feeling.
You're like, what? I want the fish and chips on the newspaper.
Their fish and chips weren't even that good there.
In
The worst was
in
the freaking
oh
warm
really?
beer though. That still bugs me.
The Guinness?
Warm beer.
Do they
Yes.
give you Guinness?
Gross.
Is it Guinness warm beer?
Well, everything. If they
Oh,
serve
all
it
their
like,
beer's warm.
yeah, it's like gross.
Oh, that's strange.
Yeah.
I never thought of that.
The tastes are just like that.
Well, the thing is, it's supposed to be. It's not. I shouldn't say. Well, they wouldn't say warm.
It's
not
But
cold.
it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be cooler than average room temperature.
It's not like fucking.
Because it's supposed to be like back in the day before like refrigeration and stuff. They kept all the stuff in the cellars, and it's like where it's slightly cooler than a room.
I suppose it's cheaper. They don't have to run the refrigerator.
No, I don't know if that's still how they store it. Probably, but yeah, I don't know. I'm just saying it was gross.
You can. Are you not able? Do they just not have anything cold? Like
they might. I don't know.
Maybe
but we
could
just
have asked
when
for
I
it.
went, we went to like test it out and see, and then.
But you just not ask for ice?
It was.
You don't want to put ice in beer though, but if you're gonna give me, well, it depends because some beers actually you can drink it warm and it's not that bad.
Yeah,
but,
I usually prefer cold.
Yeah,
but I haven't had a warm beer that I enjoyed.
What do you guys drink for beers? Like, what do you guys like for beers?
I drink the very generic lager. I'm very corporate in that way.
Lager, yeah. Fair enough.
I have, you got people. I have a bunch of friends that are, like fucking whiskey heads, or like they want to drink only like artisanal beers and stuff.
Yeah,
but I always bum them out because I want to drink like the most mainstream, commercialized, watered down lager.
Isn't that Chinese beers known for? Like beer has had a hard time hitting the China market other than Molson, because Molson had a special deal, right? They're the only one that can sell in China other than, I think they're the only one that sell in China other than like local Chinese beer.
No, you can get like artisanal. You can get like different kinds of beers.
You could, but
probably won't find
I know what you mean, like
beers and stuff.
But they don't have the market share compared to other beers, I guess. They're very
because of local, the Chinese beers have the lion's share of it, right? But even among the local people, I think in Asia, I know in Japan and China, don't know about Korea, but like a lot more people in the cities are into like crafted beers, so it'll be like more hoppy, like Asian people, like ever since they started drinking beer, they would probably drink lagers because all the classic beers you drink from there are lagers, right? Like Sapporo's a lager basically.
Sapporo,
lager. Tsingtao is definitely, it's just literally a German lager. But now they are.
Oh, you're like Heineken? Is that Qingdao? Is that close to Heineken?
Heineken, you can get I'm saying because I remember like you get Heineken, you can get Budweiser over there. Like I've had them. It's pretty much if they have it on tap, you can get it. But usually it'll be Tsingdao or whatever local beer that they have. But more people are trying to be more like trying to try more different like darker beers or more stout shit, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say
you can get Guinness there too. You can get Guinness there too, and more people like in the beginning people will drink that, but like, what the fuck is this shit, right? Like, because they think about beer, they only think about like what a lager was. Maybe this is like 20 years back or something.
Yeah.
But now it's just like, okay, Guinness is a normal thing. So now you get people drinking like fucking ones with lots of IPAs and lots of hops.
How come we don't see China beers? Well, other than Qingdao, like I see that one emerge, but I don't see
because
many other ones.
Yeah, Qingdao has a big like you can get some China beers depending on the liquor store you go to.
Mm-hmm.
You can get like the local ones, like Yanjing is a Beijing one, Xuehua, and you get Harbin. And there's different beers for different regions, but Qingdao specifically is mass produced for also export.
What's your opinion on Qingdao then? Do you like it?
I like it. It's actually one of my favorite ones. It's very comforting for me.
Nationalist.
Well, yeah. If it was garbage, I wouldn't drink it. But it's decent enough. I mean, like Tsingtao is a beer that I could drink warm if I had to.
Yeah.
Because it's more or less, I think it's just used to it. The taste is very homely for me.
How about you, Jason? Do you have a biased opinion on this one?
Well, I generally don't like drinking anyways. I will like drink socially. Usually for beers, if I have to go out drinking, I'll either go for like somewhat generic stuff. I don't mind a Heineken. I'd prefer like a Stella or a Guinness.
Ooh,
but usually that's what I go for.
Stella and Guinness, those are very classy drinks. Oh, that's what Stella is always trying to sell you on the classiness, right? Because always give you a fancier glass. They don't give you that pint.
Yeah,
That's
you're
true.
you're a fancy man when you drink Stella.
And they always have to like use a knife
It-
to cut the foam, right?
In the commercial,
In the
yeah.
commercials, they do. I don't think I've never seen them do that.
You
whenever
never
I
gonna
order a
see
drink.
a bartender over here just take out his little Stella knife and just cut the foam, cut
They're
the
like-
head on top.
They're
Here
like,
you go.
another fucker. That's
Twirls
better.
his mustache too as he gives it to you.
I don't know if you've been to like Bottle Screw Bills here. They have like a around the world kind of thing. So
Oh yeah, the passport.
the passport, yeah. So it's 80 beers of like from different countries and stuff. And I had a friend that that with a group of us. It was like it's through multiple nights. You could do it whenever, but so I had a lot of crappy beers from around the world though.
Do you have opinions on a country based on their beers? Like you're like, oh, I'm never gonna
Opinions
visit.
based on country. No, I don't have that. I have opinion on their beer. I'd be like, what the fuck is this? Do they not know how to make beer?
Yeah, there's a lot of bad ones.
So what did they serve you when you're in China? Like for bottle screw? Do they give you Qingdao or do they?
That
kinda
was
give
on
you
there. I
something?
remember that, but I don't remember. Well, a lot of it I didn't have because
You
I
didn't
don't
complete
remember
the
what other
challenge
ones they
then,
had.
I guess.
No, it's as a group, so it's not like each person has to
Oh,
drink all
it's a
80.
group. So do you just contribute like one beer, 1 or 2 beers?
I think I contributed 5 or 6.
Were they all shit? Did they give you all the shit ones? Your friends just like, yeah,
Most of them were, yeah. But
like, well, there's shit floating in this one. Give this one to this.
For group projects, I'd be the one slacker on the beer. I'll be like, yeah, I'll help as much as I can, which is 1. And then I'll
After one, you're
I'll
just
let-
like,
but it's
I'll
like
let
you
it
have to
topple
finish
over.
it. So it's even if you get a bad one, it's like you have to finish it too, and it's bad. It's just really bad.
yeah.
yeah.
So what's when you say a beer that's bad, like what don't you like in beers? Like
Yo, if it
You
has
did-
that big hoppy taste, that IPA taste, I don't like it. It's basically like if you smell it, it smells like you're drinking weed.
Some of it's like really bitter.
I
I don't remember which one
actually,
exactly.
I'm a IPA kind of person. I do like more IPAs.
Yeah, I got. There's another friend of mine that will exclusively only drink the high hops and the IPAs and shit. And
Yeah, a
just
lot of
literally-
craft beer likers go for that kind of stuff.
It's strange because whenever I go, people always say like, "Oh, you should get a lager, easier to drink," and then I'll read the description and I always seem to gravitate towards IPA, just like without even knowing what beer was like back then. Like I didn't really have a opinion on what kind of beer I would like, but based on historic like ones I've liked, it's always IPAs, especially from flights.
What fancy man.
I think flights is actually a good way to introduce yourself to beers. That way you can, they're like not a lot of them out, but you can try to discover like what you kind of like. especially
Yeah,
in
you
craft.
might as well, because if you're gonna take a flight, you should always try to drink something that's either bottled or canned. Anyways. Like,
Yeah.
That's
Pro
true.
tip: you don't want to. You most of the time you don't kind of want to drink the fucking coffee and shit.
I think some coffee beers are pretty good. We have a craft beer place that does like a coffee beer. It's pretty tasty.
No, I mean like airplane coffee.
Oh yeah, okay.
You know, I'm not talking about the fucking coffee in general on the ground. If you can drink all the coffee you want on the ground, you go into
Ground
the air.
coffee is way better than air coffee.
Yeah,
Well,
air coffee is for losers.
it is true that your sense of taste is different when you're
No,
flying
buddy,
than-
it's just the water that they use.
what? No, it's the like when you're flying and you're eating,
Like
it,
the
like
pressure
the
or
vacuum
something.
sound, the vacuum and like the sense of smell, like it's all dull, so you don't really taste much when you're
Okay,
on the
yeah,
airplane.
I see. I know what you mean. Like you're talking about these fucking like the taste of it. No, I'm talking about like the fucking just the water on how it's like how they
Okay.
get the water on the airplane. Yeah.
They probably purified the pee. That's how they keep the water.
Oh man, I hope no one believes you when you say that for our listeners.
What do you mean? You think there's gonna be a conspiracy next day?
You know, the
Airplane sells purified pee, and then we're like, oh,
technology's
shit.
already been there since like World War II, where you pee into like this water purifier, and then you can just take out the cup and just drink it right after.
I'm pretty sure that's what astronauts drink most of the time, anyways.
A
Right?
lot of
'Cause
it
there's
is
no-
recycled pee
Yeah, they
or
have to recycle
recycled
everything.
moisture.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure they just recycle their sweat too.
I imagine so.
Yeah, anything
Yeah.
that they can spare.
Yeah.
Dehydrate the piss, dehydrate the shit, and recycle the water back.
Yeah. Nothing goes to waste when you're on a space station or aircraft.
Excellent.
I I disagree with the aircraft part. Space station, man.
You're taking like an hour trip of a flight. You're just drinking recycled piss.
Don't even have to leave for the
They're like,
bathroom,
it's
you
like,
know? Just go in a
excuse me,
cup.
can I get a glass of water? You're like, hold on a minute. I think this guy
Go
might be going to the washroom.
Go
We
and
can get you
get
one
some water
glass.
from the toilet. Yo, I've had flight attendant friends that have told me stories, where like some passenger has been like a real dick to them, like the entire like an 8 9 hour flight. Just they've been terrible people to them, and then they would and then they she told me, she's like, oh yeah, you know what I did at the end? I just went to the fucking toilet. He asked for some water at the end of the flight, and he was still being an asshole, so I went to the toilet and got him I got the water from the toilet and gave it to him.
But there's no water in the toilet bowl. Right? It's just water from the faucet.
I think she was saying like she went to the bathroom to get the tap water from there.
Yeah, because they're like
There's no, yeah, unless she put it into the toilet and scooped it back up.
Oh dear
But I
God.
think that's what she meant.
There's
I
no
mean,
way the
that's-
person wouldn't notice if that was the
yeah,
case.
yeah. I mean, yeah. Anyways, I'm sure she got that guy then.
Yes, and then it may also be parody, just in case if someone listens to this is from like the Federal Aviation, whatever fucking shit.
They
and
start
they'll be like,
piecing it together.
yeah, they're like, oh yeah, who's this friend of yours? Yeah, I want to know names. I'll be like,
I can't-
parody. Fuck off.
When you're talking about FBI's, I was recently watching a video on scammer calls, and they're actually very smart on how.
Sophisticated.
Yeah, it's their operation is really cool. Like,
Oh, did you watch? It was like that Mark Rober video.
yeah. When he
The
was talking
most
about
recent one.
the ground scene part, I thought that was amazing. Like, because we know, like, India call center, blah blah blah. They call you. That part is obvious, or not obvious, but that part is boring because you already know about it. But the part that I thought was interesting is once they figure out, like, oh, we want you to deliver money, they teach you how to deliver money by like slipping bills into pages. Of
Yeah.
books.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's
And then-
exactly the video we saw. So
Yeah.
just in case, I don't know, Jason, did you probably didn't see it? Hey.
No. I
Okay,
don't
so
think
basically,
so.
like, how it works was, like the Indian call center, they would like just do calls and basically try to scam the people out of money, right? But then, but they would also hire some like people, like in the country. In this case, it was America. Local people that would go to get the package, specifically when the FedEx delivers it at the area, and they would be paid like $100 a pop, and it's all like coordinated from like the ground there to like some supervisor in India, and then the supervisor in India also like oversees the call operations and shit over there too. They like,
And, like,
they set up the whole fucking system.
they'll hire like I should say locals, and they're the mules. They carry the packages, and then they would tell them like, oh, go to this house, and then they would book an Airbnb of that house, and then say like, oh, my guests will arrive to pick up a package there, and then they would send a package to random B&B houses. That way you can't like track them. And it's like very smart on their part, because like in that Mark Rober video, they accidentally pranked a bystander. Right?
Yeah, the guy that owns the Airbnb, and
Yeah.
then they sent the glitter bomb to him, and he was like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, you like what? And then the police showed up, and he was explaining, and it was like, oh, that's you missed the target, and that's how you find out this sophisticated system.
Yeah, they got people on the ground. Yeah, the mules to pick up the packages, and basically they like one of them goes through like 7 a day. So
Yeah, she was
so
so complaining. She's like, this Crystal girl doesn't do shit. I have to do all her work for her.
yeah, they gotta go to
That's
the
pretty
pickup
good.
points. They gotta get that shit, and then she was trying to get her friend to get in on this. She was like, "You get
It almost-
$100 a pop."
Reminds me of like The Wire. Remember The Wire when they explain how a drug dealing happened? Like you can't exchange money and drugs at the same spot. That way, if you get caught, the whole operation's gone. You have to like, signal a guy, and you have to tell the crackhead to go around the corner to get his drugs after giving you some money. So yeah, operations fascinates me.
This is already more advanced than The Wire. Stringer Bell taking all the business classes he could ever take probably could not think of this.
Well, I think in The Wire, like as they advance the season, they got more sophisticated, like the operation. Like remember there's the where they use the clock. They took pictures of clock to coordinate where to get the next drop for Rhea.
Oh yes, yes.
So I mean so it's like an evolution. But yeah, like you're talking about with the scammer calls. Thing is just the evolution of it. And it's crazy how like they scam these grandmas with the command prompt. And
People are
get them
just
to
too trusting. I mean, like this is the
That's
worst part
true.
because like like the old grandma was just it's everybody else is obvious. This is like a pretty bad scam too, where the
Yeah,
person's just like basically opening Notepad on the
yeah,
computer for them. He's like,
yeah,
oh yeah, type in your information and shit and how much money you want to transfer, and then he adds like zeros to it,
yeah. It's
and
like
then
she's supposed to put 200, but she took
yeah,
20,000. And it's like,
like
hey, ma'am,
it's
it's okay. We have a solution. Just give us back 19,000, and
yeah,
we'll call
and
this
she
one.
makes them. Well, she got made to feel guilty, right? She's like, "Oh, I didn't mean to transfer that much money, or whatever, or take that much money, right?" And
Yeah,
it was all just smoke and mirrors show. But but they get them because it's like psychologically they just guilt them. Like these people are like very very vulnerable. Like they honestly could not imagine that that this person's like scamming. And all they had to do was like, "Oh, you remind me of my grandma." And they're like, "Oh, that's so nice. That's so sweet. Oh, here you go. Oh, I accidentally put a little bit more zeros on the end of the number. Oh no." And then the guy's like, "Oh no, we have to fix this. And please, I'm gonna lose my job if this goes through. Oh no, how?" And then the grandma's like, "How can I fix this? Oh, you can transfer me the difference in the money."
the thing
Oh,
with
do that right
scam,
away.
the thing with scammer calls, I feel like the government has the power to do something about it, like to do something in sense of like prevent scam calls to even occur. You know what they
Well,
don't do
you're
anything.
gonna screen every call from India? Is that what you're gonna do?
I think no, we have the technology. I think they can detect if there's a being a call originating from one area, right? And that's being automated. Like they can stop those calls, right?
Well, that would mean that they have to somehow listen into the call too, right? To know that it's like automated. Or else, what if it's just literally your grandma just calls you multiple times a day, and they're like, "Oh, this is the
Yeah,
suspicious activity. We gotta
but a
censor it now."
robocall calls way like the frequency of a robot calling is so much higher than compared to regular people, right? Like you can tell, like statistically, you can tell there's a difference. Like there's a huge number of calls. Like even on internet, you can tell if you're getting DDoS or where the
Well, I
traffic
mean,
is
like,
coming
how
from,
would you
right?
tell it from if you were from like the States? How would you tell that from if India, if you're not in India? You know what I mean? You're only seeing like the
Yeah,
outbound traffic,
yeah.
anyways.
Well, do what a bit. You can check like I don't know how like the people from India are doing it, like how they're trying to spoof themselves or like if they're
Oh, dude,
changing all the
sometimes
time.
it's sometimes the cops are fucking paid off, so then they can just like you saw in the video, they had like a whole call center. It's like set up like it's set up like an office, right? You got a whiteboard. You probably have like the fucking like a reward meter for whoever's like
Yeah.
fucking Pajit's met. Pajit is the fucking got the most numbers of the month this month or whatever, right?
It's yeah. You know, some of these guys don't even feel bad. It's just a job to them. So
Well, that's the
and
thing. That's the thing too. Like, well, yeah, they're just making money. All of these
yeah,
people are just making money
Yeah, I think
because
that's
they
the
have
only
nothing
reason
else to
they're
do.
doing it.
yeah. Well, for sure, they're not doing it because they want to see the world burn.
Oh, but they're not nice either. They're cold-hearted. They're cold-hearted little pricks. Because remember that one guy that scammed that other girl, and then like
Hmm.
she knew
Oh, he
because
was yelling at her. Was
well,
that what?
yeah, they would yell. First of all, like if someone's like yelling at you, why would you even go through with any sort of money transaction?
Go to the UPS. Send the
Do it now, are
package.
you stupid? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. No, but the one of the main tools they do is they try to make an emotional connection with these people, and these people,
Yes.
because they're vulnerable or they're too trusting, they just they take it all in, anyways, right? So like remember that one woman like you find out that during that period when she was getting scammed like 3 times, like her husband passed away and
Yeah, yeah,
everything, and their family was going through stuff, and the guy was still like, "Oh, really?" And then he was like, "Oh, this is an excellent mark, right?" And he just kept on, and he even milked it for you as much as he could. So they're definitely
yeah.
they
They do hit the vulnerable, like you say, because like that's the other issue too. Like the people who are more susceptible to scam calls tend to be more vulnerable. Like I do have a friend or a classmate who actually fell for a scam, like the one where it's like he got an email saying like, "Hey, I lost a bunch of money. I need some help," and I think he gave him like $2,000, like to a random stranger from an email, and people were like, "Really?" Yeah. So sad story. I was like, "Wow." Everyone's like, "Wow, you're so nice, but you also got scammed, man."
it just
he
turns him into a jaded. He's gonna become the villain after that.
he was flabbergasted. Yeah. But I was gonna say like Apple released a feature on the iPhone where it would silence calls that are not in your contact list. And I found that very useful. Like I don't notice scam calls anymore because I remember they used to just like my phone would ring all the time at work, and now I don't notice them because they're always silenced. I thought
Wait,
that was
Now,
a good
if you,
feature.
when did they come up with this?
I don't know. It just my Apple phone just told me like, hey, do you find these calls annoying? Well, turn this on, and I turned it on, and it worked. I just
Now, if you get any
oh,
calls outside of content, like imagine one of your friends like went to jail and they have only one call to make, and they call you, and then Apple just
yeah.
fucking blocks it.
I mean, I let it be known that I don't pick up any calls. I don't know who it is. So hopefully, if anyone I know goes to jail, they'll know not to call me.
If they leave a voicemail, I'll call them back. But
Oh yeah, that's
anyways,
true. But
that's
I
that's the
mean,
big
if
thing.
you're only allowed that one phone call and it's like a payphone thing, they probably won't be able to pick up the phone if it's
Yeah,
like a prison call.
yeah. Well, hopefully that case doesn't happen. But if it does, I'll let you know the aftermath. But
I
yeah,
was just curious because just today
mhm.
I had a phone call from a number I didn't know, so I didn't pick it up. But yeah, I mean, I still got the phone through, so I probably don't have that feature turned on or something,
Yeah.
wherever
It's
the
in
hell it
your
is.
if you have an iPhone. Are you an iPhone guy? I thought you're an Android guy. I had
I
that feeling.
have both.
Oh,
Yeah, I said I was gonna try out an Apple phone, so I'm trying out an Apple phone,
which one? 12?
the newest one. Yeah.
Wow, the biggest one?
No, it's not like the most expensive
Oh,
thing.
okay, the bluest one.
It I have a case on it's black, but yeah, I got like a dark blue thingy color.
Pacific blue. Nice, nice, nice. So yeah, it's under phone settings. If you look for it, it's there. So it's good. What's your
That's
opinion so far?
it's I probably won't stick to it after this one. Um, I've had it for like probably a few months or so, probably more than a few months. I don't remember. COVID's been a blur, but yeah, I still miss a lot of stuff from Android side of things. Big ones being like the keyboard for one, because you can't change the keyboard on Apple. Even though if I get Swift key, you only can have like the Apple keyboard layout. You can't change that, which sucks.
Why would you change a QWERTY keyboard? Or
No, it's still QWERTY, but for example, on my Android phone, I have Swift key, and I have like a long press, which would change it to like a certain symbol for each letter or
I think in
number.
Apple you have the hard press, isn't there? Like but you may not be able to choose symbols to the degree they're talking about.
Yeah, I not that I know of. I played around with a few settings on Apple and such, but everything seems to be like the same exact layout. You have to like
I
press
do
the symbol button to get to symbols and stuff. So
I do
that's just
notice
one thing that bugs me.
my girlfriend has the same issue where she came from an Android, and for the most of the beginning transitioning period from Android to Apple is just how come Apple can't do this? How come Apple can't do that kind of thing? And to me, I'm like, I don't know. Never done all those, and I'm fine. Like I guess I live in this bubble of using Apple phones, so I never knew that there's other options.
You never
just used.
walked. You never
Mhm.
walked a mile in her phone shoes.
Yeah, yeah. So I think she's not a fan of Apple. Like I don't think she likes it, but you know, it's better than her old phone. That's why she's sticking to it. But I think if she was given another phone, she probably would jump ship. Certainly.
The
Yeah.
third wave phone.
So the way I'm doing it now, I have the Apple phone and the iPhone I should say because that's the actual name, and I still have my old Pixel, and I'm using both. The Apple is currently my main driver, like my phone number, and everything is through that, the SIM card. I have my other phone, which has still Facebook Messenger and like WhatsApp and text or not text, other messaging apps still go through that as well. And a lot of times, for the apps that are on both phones, I still find myself drawn more towards my Pixel to actually, type on and such. And even stuff like, I don't know, the camera and stuff, sometimes I find it better on that. And yeah, it's just
You
like,
just swap your SIM card into each phone every time you use it.
no, the SIM card's still always on
I think
my
it's the internet.
iPhone. Yeah, I'm
Yes.
using internet for the most part, but I do have a separate SIM card on my Android phone, just because I have like the Shaw $0 thingy.
So wait,
So
do you when COVID's over and you show up to functions, do people call you a drug dealer because you have two phones? Like
it's
you're
been mentioned before
like
for
why is
people
that?
that
Why is
have
that a
seen me with two
stereotype?
phones.
You might as
Like-
well just become a drug dealer at this point. You
Like
I do need the money. Yeah.
like all you
you
need
got
is
you've got the setup already. You might as well just
because
start dealing some fentanyl.
once you have the two phones and then you say you add like a gold necklace and you start wearing like beads and stuff and get a belly, like stereotypes start showing up, you know?
What is he? He's like
I got the belly. I'm not one for gold necklaces and
man. He's
such.
like what is he? He's like a 40-year-old Italian.
Wear
What
the
is this?
tracksuit, get a golden tooth,
Hey,
slick back
Christopher
my hair,
Montasante, right?
wear like the sunglasses all the time.
You know who I am? You know who my uncle is? No. I don't know who the fuck you are.
One thing too that's Pixel has like the call screening feature, which I really like. That unfortunately can't get on the iPhone.
How does the call screening work?
It has like if it suspects it's spam, it says in like bold red text when the call comes in. It's like suspected spam.
Oh, I would like a call screening where they ask the person like, what's the password, and they would have to say a password that you know that would indicate that they know me, and then the call would like go through.
So then all your friends and family that want to call you would have to remember a password.
Or a secret word or something, some type of, or maybe
Well, the Pixel does also have an actual. I think it's actually called call screen feature, where it's like phone call comes in. There's a button it's like screen call, and then it goes to a automated voice, kind of like just an AI. It's like and then it could ask basically like, oh, what are you calling for and such, and it'll
like a
transcribe it in
receptionist.
text. Yeah,
like
exactly.
if you work for a big company or any company for that matter, people are trying to sell the boss something, right? And the boss doesn't want to take all these calls, so you just ask the receptionist to screen his calls.
Yeah,
And then if
that's
the
basically it.
receptionist feels like, oh, you need to take this call as your mother, then he's like, oh, okay, fine, put her on the line, and then you talk to your mom, right?
Yeah,
So
I
it'd be
used
nice if your AI could like say that, or even your AI could be programmed to be like, oh, Brian's busy right now, maybe he'll call you back.
Yeah,
Be like-
there's a button you could do. It just says like if busy is like, oh, please call back whenever
But
or
like,
something
will
like
it
that.
tell your mom nicely, like oh, Jason's very
Yeah, the
busy.
AI is not like mean or anything.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
But
Okay.
I did use that quite a bit, especially for like when there was a delivery or something coming and they phoned from a number I don't know.
Yeah.
It was quite useful for those situations where it's like I just
Oh.
press that button and I'll just see like, oh, this is delivery from like FedEx or whatever the hell.
How sophisticated is your AI receptionist?
Well, it goes through an automated script essentially. A lot of the times when I've used it just through to test,
Mhm.
people just hang up on it when they hear like a robot voice.
See, that's you need a human voice. That's the issue. They don't just hang up.
Yeah. Well, either way,
Because I
I don't
remember
really like
this
taking phone
trick
calls anyways.
in like business school where you would have another person's voice do your voicemail stuff, so it makes it sound like you're more important, that you're so busy you can't do your own voicemail. Like you know how you call someone and you hear this girl's voice saying the automated message, and you're like, oh, this guy must be important. Someone's doing their voice. But then I was thinking about it, I'm like, this could really backfire if you are like trying to date someone, then someone calls you, like, you know, a person you just went on a date with, and then he hears a girl's voice. And
Just
then
be
she's
like, oh,
very
that's my
confused.
assistant. That's all. I'm kind of a big deal.
No, you want to
Okay.
turn up the pressure on her and be like, yeah, that's my backup girlfriend, just in case just in case you don't make the cut.
It's like, you know, I'm scouting a lot of people. You might make it onto my voicemail.
She, it's the
If you're
default
lucky.
choice.
Yeah,
You're right.
I'm sure that'll please her.
Yeah.
I'll make her try harder.
You don't know. You might get a real psycho on your hands, and maybe she'll be like, "Yeah, I gotta get him. I gotta get him, and then I'm gonna kill everybody."
Yeah, sounds like a real win-win in that situation.
Yeah.
then.
This is only good things can happen if you do it like this.
I don't know if anyone does that anymore, but you feel free to take it. Use it, Jason. You need a tip up your sleeve.
What from you? Just your voice on it?
There is a you could hire celebrities through, I don't know what site it was, but to do like voice messages and stuff like that.
Celebrity impersonators, not the actual.
No,
celebrity.
there's one where it's for actual celebrities and stuff. The people that
Okay.
do sign up for it, at
The
least.
actual, the real legit celebrity version.
Yeah.
Can you imagine, you know, like you're on a movie set and then you go home and your agent comes like, oh yeah, we need you to say a bunch of these lines, record it, and then send it to us by next morning.
Well, I
Just
don't
going
think it's
through
going to be
pages.
like the A-list stars, but it's like
Yeah, I was just thinking, like, is Tom Hanks like trying to sell his services on for voicemails and shit?
If you're not saying A-list star, like not Hollywood star, you're talking about like porn actresses and stuff. Like
there's probably
There's like-
some on there. I'm
Oh,
trying to.
how would you
I don't
tell the
remember what the site is called.
How would you tell which porn star anyway? Their most defining feature is not.
Well,
It's not
some
gonna be
people will probably
captured in
pay for it,
audio.
just even though like
I think,
fans of theirs.
I mean, they're not muted. They talk. Like there's scenes where they talk.
Yeah, but you're gonna recognize as a porn star, not based on audio only, right?
Well, so some can, and like some
Fuck
of them
it, man,
are
like,
streamers now. Some of
Whatever,
them
man.
are
Unless
streamers.
you're like a blind guy that only listens to like audio ASMR porn, I don't think you're gonna be able to like really get the full effect of a celebrity voice.
So I found the site. It's cameo.com, not a sponsor. But just on the site, on the featured list right now, there's Ice-T, Paula Abdul, Chuck Norris, a bunch of other people I don't know. But Mick Foley's on there. Guess how much you could hire Mick Foley for a voice message?
$2.
$99.
How many?
And that's
$90?
one of the lower ones. $99. So $100.
If our podcast does make it big, we should totally invest in it just for like a side note. You know, we'll just have
Listen
like
to this freak. Listen to this freak to your voicemail. Who is he? Maybe like 20 people around the world know who this guy is. How much you want for it? $90, please.
One of the highest ones on here. I tried to sort by price. $1,200. Kevin O'Leary.
Oh, Kevin O'Leary. Yeah, yeah.
I feel like
I see
among their peers, this would be like something that's embarrassing for them.
What would you want Kevin O'Leary to say?
Yeah, it's like, why the fuck?
No.
It's like, it'd be like, trust these guys. These guys are honest. And
Caitlyn Jenner goes for $2,500.
Caitlyn Jenner.
I don't know. So if you put in the order, like, how do you think that they even get it? Do they get like a text from them? Something, hey, you got a job coming up? You know?
I don't know. You probably do have to type out a script for them, but
they got their their point of sale thing, a receipt.
How does radio does it? Because you know how radio be like, you're listening to da da da, and then they would have like celebrities like Ariana Grande. You're listening to the hottest radio of Canada on blah blah blah, and then
Oh,
they would
dude, they just catch him at some whatever event, and then like fucking, hey, can you just give us a shout out or whatever? And he's like,
we should
yeah,
totally
this
just do
is
that.
entertainment.
Well, I think
Go
they
ahead,
might have
man.
like a certain agent or manager that manages all that, and
Or
then they just
that.
tell them to read it out, and they just record it.
Or that, yeah. If you're
Yeah.
famous, you do that. If you're like,
Yeah, if you're
if
famous.
if it was just like a Brian level, going to get some voice clips from celebrities, yeah, you gotta ambush them somewhere. You gotta make it like that's one of their only choices they can say that they can do to get out of the situation. Please
No,
record this voice clip.
Read this line, and we'll let you go.
But yeah,
Where am I? Why am I tied to this chair?
if you want to send your friend or relative a like birthday message from Dennis Rodman, you could go on cameo.com and it's only $750.
I thought you were gonna say
Rodman.
if you want to get a voice clip if you want to get a birthday greeting from Dennis Rodman, just let us know and we'll get Brian to do his best impression.
I don't even know what he sounds like, so I'd believe it.
He sounds exactly like Brian. Imagine that. Yeah, we should get this started, and Brian doesn't even have to do any impression. He just talks normally, but we'll have the entire catalog.
Who's
you
the
have
old
George
school?
Clooney.
Who's the old school Hercules? Do you guys remember his name? He was also in Andromeda. What's that guy's name?
Oh, that guy.
Handsome fella, blonde hair.
He's not handsome. Are you fucking kidding me?
Is he not? Well, maybe back in the day.
No,
Okay, fine. He was more
I
rugged
don't know
guy.
who you're talking about.
He looks like he is fake. Like he looks like he was made in a factory.
What's his name?
I know who
Anyways.
you're talking about. He's got the dumbest looking like haircut, and
Kevin Sorbo, right? Kevin Sorbo. Anyways, okay, Kevin Sorbo. Like my buddy, he was standing in line to get his autograph, like this during like Comic-Con kind of thing, and he was just getting a picture, and he was really tired with like, just the pictures. Like he's like, oh come on guys, give me something more interesting to do. And my buddy, he's like, oh, can you carry me? Like, and then he would like lift him, and he's a little bigger guy, and he lifts them, and then they took his picture, and then on this picture when he signs it, he would be like, "Go easy on the pasta next time," kind of thing. I thought that was a very creative picture he got with Kevin Sorbo.
Jesus Christ. These are the conversations I dread sometimes.
Why is that? They're real,
It's just
real
like,
stories.
oh yeah, it was a story that that just made my day that much more excruciating.
Hey Brian,
Yes.
I don't know if you'll have a good answer for this, but if you could have like anyone do a like voicemail message for you, who would it be?
A voicemail message. Oh.
Yeah, just for an example.
Maybe Siri, like the real person Siri.
Oh, okay.
Then I'll be like, people are like, oh, what's so special about it? It's like, oh, it's the real person Siri.
Yeah,
you
I
won't be
mean,
able to tell because it would sound like your phone, but it's like the real one. And then people are like, really?
I don't know
Yeah.
if you know who Talia Mar is. She's like a musician.
Yeah.
But she's also
is she a streamer?
Yeah, she also streams.
Siri? Yeah, I think I've seen videos of her.
Yeah, she did a Siri impersonation and it's actually spot on.
Spot on. Yeah, I remember seeing a video of her doing it.
Yeah, you should hire her. I don't know if she's.
I wouldn't want to hire the impersonator because then it's not the real one. Like the idea of getting
But
someone.
only you would know that. Other people, you could tell other people that's the real Siri.
Well, that would be a fake. That would be like me being proud that it's someone real, but also not real for the sake of the actual person. And then.
But isn't this better
It's
because
like-
she's actually a celebrity, whereas the real Siri might be like just some nobody.
the real series of nobody. It's probably it's
It's
I would be
probably like
surprised if her actual name was Siri too.
No, she's like an old lady. I'm pretty sure.
That's unfortunate.
But anyways, like I don't know. What would you pick, Zinzin? Like you seem to scoff at my opinion.
What would I use? I don't know, like Kim Jong Un. I'd get him to do a voicemail.
okay,
Does he even
interesting.
speak English?
I think he does, right?
It would be very it would just be his attempt at English on the voicemail.
I think if you pick
Chris.
someone too ridiculous, like say Trump and stuff, people would think it's a personator. It's like you couldn't have gotten Trump to get it.
Trump would be a top pick for sure.
Yeah.
If Trump ever just went completely bankrupt again and he needed to make some money,
Yeah.
like he could sell some voicemails and fucking at least.
I would go the opposite direction and pick someone likable, like someone that everybody loves, like The Rock or something.
Oh yeah. You know, that's a problem though, because someone who's likable now may not be likable in the future, right?
Yeah, you
'Cause,
might
for
as well
example-
get someone. You might as well get somebody that everybody hates already. So that
I'll
you know
take my
what you're
chances
getting.
with someone that people like.
Because the only people that are likable forever are ones who are dead, because there's no chance for them to screw up in future, right? Like, here's my example. Like Joss Whedon, people loved him in the past. People loved him for Black Buffy. People loved him for Firefly. Da da da. Currently, people don't love him. People are like, "Oh, you screwed up Justice League. You know, have all these allegations against you. All your TV shows have been canceled." There's a lot of bad press on Joss Whedon. But then if you look at Zack Snyder, man, people hated him back then. His movies were garbage. Like he made Sucker Punch, he made all these terrible movies, and all his movies seems to be this like, have this like dark grittiness that isn't very entertaining. And then he released the Snyder Cut movie, and everyone's like cheering for him, saying
but if you get a voicemail from either one of them, it will suck.
I'm still quite certain that this new Justice League cut of the movie is still going to be bad. Again, I'll still watch it.
Two more extra hours. Like, the movie can't be the same, right? If you had the movie is twice as long as the original theater cut, it wouldn't like.
But that doesn't necessarily make it twice as
Wait,
good.
the movie is they added
it's
on
4
2
hours.
hours.
Yeah, it's two.
Holy
That's 2 hours longer
shit.
than the original movie.
So
Like,
that's
you're gonna
why
have to
I said,
plan-
and I know Brian is gonna or has mentioned that I might be wrong in this, but that's why I mentioned that it's like the studio cut half of the movie essentially.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense because if back in the day, this was 2017, Justice League was coming out, and Zack Snyder had left the project because to deal with family matters. So they hired Joss Whedon to make the movie, and they are like, well, as an executive, we want to make as much money as possible. So a 2-hour movie is the standard movie time because you can fit as many time slot in a movie theater as you can with 2 hours. Whereas if it's a 4-hour movie, you can only fit like maybe 2 viewing a day. So you have the same amount of people in the theater, right? So if those same people are just watching one movie, you're making way less than if you have more people for watching more movies. So it
I
makes
could get
sense
their
why they made it
reasoning
2 hours.
for that, the studio's reasoning at least.
Studios, yeah.
But as far as actually like I can't tell. I haven't seen it yet, so I don't know exactly what they cut, how that plays into making the story better and everything like that. But this whole DC cinematic universe so far has been quite terrible. I watch them all just because I am a fan of like DC comics in general.
You're going to consume it anyways.
Yeah, I'll still watch it, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's good. And I saw the original cut of Justice League that came out. I remember it being bad. I don't really remember much of the specifics at all because it was, not a very memorable movie. But once I watched this 4-hour cut of the movie, I'm very doubtful that it's gonna be like change my mind that it's gone from a terrible movie to like, oh yeah, that was actually really good.
They won't need to do anything. You're going to eat the slop they serve you in your trough anyways.
I can eat it, but I don't necessarily have to like it.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
What if you're like, what if you watch the movie and you're like, wow, that movie was very consistent? Because the issue with the theater cut was it was made by 2 directors, and they had 2 different ideas of what the movie should have been. So like you could tell like tonally it changed, like the beginning to the middle to the end. Like the movie made no sense. And like the guy Joss Whedon, they took him from Marvel, right? He basically had the same script from Marvel into the Justice League movie. Like
he just changed the names.
He did, because you know how in Age of Ultron they had the whole like the city was falling and the superhero had to save the civilians while fighting that evil robot machine.
Mhm.
They totally had that scene in Justice League, right? They had the whole Russian city place, and then the Flash had to save like a bunch of people and push like a pickup truck.
Spoiler
right?
alert for anyone that hasn't watched Justice League original.
Oh, it's 3-year-old movie.
Get it
Yeah.
spoiled.
That
Spoiler
became a
warning
recent
anyways.
movie. But anyways, then Superman like flies the building, right? You remember that scene? That's basically the same as Age of Ultron. Like that's like that same like storyline, just with different characters.
Dude is a fucking slacker. He just changed the names. That's all.
Overall,
Well,
Age of Ultron wasn't
But
that
he's
great either.
not
but
plagiarizing. It's his own work that he just copied.
he copied over to another thing.
Yeah, he just copied one. That's it.
But one of the reasons I don't like the DC cinematic universe is because they did the characters so badly. Like maybe with the exception of Wonder Woman, all the other Superman,
There's
Batman,
a lot of people.
all of them are
Aquaman.
developed pretty poorly.
People really like Aquaman, and the Aquaman
yeah,
movie did well.
Okay.
There were sharks with laser beams. Pew pew pew.
I mean, I don't know why they're.
Well, I mean
so
the actual
hard.
characters themselves compared to like the source, like of the comics and such. Which one of the things that Snyder did, I don't remember if where this was quoted or whatever, so I could be slightly off. But Batman in this cinematic universe has been shown to kill people, like criminals and stuff. He just straight out like, oh, that guy's not going to survive that. And from interviews or something, I recall that one of the reasonings that he gave for this was like, it's not believable that Batman wouldn't kill people. And then this is coming from a universe where you have aliens and this godlike guy that can fly around, shoot lasers out of his eyes, and all this. And it's like the most unbelievable thing is that Batman doesn't kill.
His logic is rock solid. It's unassailable.
They
How
do
dare you even try? But you know what? I mean, I don't understand why they're so bad at making this fucking thing. Like it's even the Marvel movies. It's basically they just follow like a cookie cutter movie making sort of recipe anyways, right? Like I mean like so I don't know why DC has such a fucking hard time to try to even just do the same shit. You can just do the same shit and it'll probably sell a lot of tickets. A lot of people will watch it and they will give good reviews for it.
I think part of the reason is they're directly trying to compete with Marvel, and it's just a bad idea because they're not even doing it in a direct way. They're trying to do it kind of backwards, like how they want to do Justice League and then branch off some of the characters into their individual movies, whereas like Marvel did the more logical way of having individual characters introduced in their own movies and stuff, and then do a huge big group movie.
Personally, I would like the backwards method.
I mean, the backwards method could work, but all their characters, like to me, their character just don't. They're so bland, and they're trying to make everyone dark. Like Superman shouldn't be that dark. Batman, sure, maybe he's killing people and stuff.
Like,
what the hell?
About Superman, like they were like complaining about the first Superman movie, Man of Steel. They're like, you know what Superman should not be doing? Destroying buildings and people. Because that's the iconic thing of Superman. Like he's
like the Boy Scout.
Good. Yeah.
And nowadays, like trying to make him as edgy. Like they're trying to make all their characters edgy, like Batman.
But I do think that being edgy, they stand out. Like stand out in the sense they're different than Marvel. Because the thing I don't like is trying to copy something that's already established. It's nice that they're trying to stand out and try to be their own or have their own creative vision. I do give them props on that end. Because I think that's the issue why you didn't like the Justice League movie, because it's so similar to the Avengers movie. Right? Whereas if it was, different, you might still think it's a bad movie, but at least you remember it. Whereas this one is just forgettable.
I mean,
I can't say for certain.
How much more creative are you gonna get if you're gonna have a cinematic universe based on based on like already established comics?
Well, I think the art of it is very like Zack Snyder. He has a very what do you call? He has a footprint. Like you can tell it's his movie. Like there's a style he does it. So I think it's very obvious. Like even Nolan, like he has a certain style of how storytelling and stuff. So I think that's the thing with directors, they all have high egos, right? Because like when you look at Star Wars, from movie 7, 8, and 9, because they're all filmed by different, like two of them they have two directors, like tonally they are different throughout the movie. When you're jumping through movies, so as a trilogy, they're not very harmonious, but you can tell like directors, they all have a certain style and they try to one up each other. Because like in the last movie, you can tell all the things that Johnson had changed. You could tell that what's his name? I can't remember the director's name. Anyways, you can tell that the original director had certain elements he wanted to keep and try to like retcon what has already been retconned in the last movie.
Yeah.
So, like all these directors, I think
You
they
know
just
how
have
to you know how to
egos.
get creative. Then you find a director that has zero ego. That just he knows he's a piece of shit. So then
Like,
he's gonna create a masterpiece.
Oh, who's that
like
director you
people
like
don't.
that does all those crappy ass movies?
Oh,
Like,
Sorry,
you a ball.
yeah,
You a
yeah.
ball. Yes, get him. Get him to do.
wait, who's this guy?
Oh God,
Oh
I
my
can't
god.
wait. I'm already. You know what? Yeah, put his name onto a movie on like a big budget, fucking comic book, cinematic universe movie. I will go watch it because it's gonna be such a treat. It's gonna be like watching a car accident
Yeah,
for
if you want a
just two
franchise to
hours.
enjoy it, just go for that guy.
It's gonna be like it's gonna be like a circle effect. It's gonna be so bad that it's gonna loop around and then just become immaculate art. Like it's gonna be so bad it will change the culture as we know it. This is what the artists should strive for. This is the peak, the magnum opus of humanity would be that.
Hmm.
That's
All
high
right,
praise.
I guess we
Ironically.
should talk our main topic before it gets too late here.
Our main
Do
topic.
we have a main topic?
Well, recently I've been doing a deep dive into luxury watches. I've been looking into
Okay.
that quite a bit. Have you looked into the watch uh hobby, I guess? Do you know much about them?
That's a very expensive hobby. I can't afford to pick up such a hobby.
You can. I like well, how about you, Zinzin? Do you have any opinions on this hobby?
I got shit to say about luxury items and commodities
Do you have a
as
watch
as a
yourself?
whole fucking comment, but like just specifically watches and shit.
Yeah,
Yeah, like I got watches. I got some fake knockoff watches.
nice, nice.
I got a knockoff Rolex I bought at some fucking
Ooh,
stall.
nice.
It's
Oh,
great. It's
nice,
great.
nice.
And then I got the the regular stuff like the now computerized watches like the Fitbits and all
Oh,
that
the
shit.
fit. Okay, so that's so okay. So I guess when I think of luxury watches, I'm
I don't
not counting.
I don't usually wear it.
Yeah,
I got them, but yeah,
I used to wear watches like all the time.
there
I
was a
have
phase
three
I went
watches
through.
now, but it's like all analog watches. I don't have any smart
Yeah,
watches or anything like that.
there was a phase I went through called using the Fitbit to work out,
yeah.
and for a time it was okay. I tracked my steps, and then it just as with all workouts, I stopped.
Because you're like, well, I'm not working out, so therefore I don't want to watch it. It's just
Yeah, it's one of those things where you just fall off the wagon.
yeah.
It's reverse Alcoholics Anonymous, right?
You want to stay anonymous. You don't want people to know you. Anyways, so I was looking into watches. Like a lot of this idea was like, when girls get rings for engagement, I think
Yes.
guys should get watches. It makes sense. They should be
Watches
equivalent.
are not for Chinese people, but watches are usually a go-to gift for a guy.
They're
That's
yeah,
for sure.
I do agree, and it makes a difference. Actually, now that I'm like been looking at watches, I've been like staring at guys' wrists to see what watches they're wearing. I'm like,
Man, what a shame that people's wrists are around crotch level some of the time.
You're just going up to me. I can imagine you take it to the next level. Can I hold your wrist for a second? You don't even
Okay.
tell them. You don't even tell. It would be even more normal if you say, "Hey, that's a really cool watch. Can I, can I take a look?" No, you just go straight. Like, give me your wrist.
Dude's peeing at the urinal next to him. He just glances and is like, "Oh, that nice."
You got your face close to his wrist and just like breathing heavily.
Well, with watches is interesting because, like, yeah, I think today's where a lot of people start with watches is through smartwatches. Like a lot of people get like Fitbits and stuff. Like I don't think um automatic watches, like the ones where they have the timepiece, the gears, and the ones that cost like thousands of dollars, like Rolex and stuff. I don't think those are in anymore. Like those is like it's like a very niche hobby. It's kind of like antique cars almost, right? Because they're very impractical. Like no one wears watches to tell time, right? A lot of it is for a statement piece, like they have dress watches or things like that, right? And I do think that for male, for accessory, there's very little things you can wear to accessorize, and watches is one of those like nice pieces that you can always add to your wardrobe.
I'd agree with that.
So as I'm diving down this idea, first question that comes to mind is how do people justify buying a luxury watch? Because you're paying a lot of money for something that you're not going to wear that often, and
This is why
there's
it's the same reason why people buy luxury stuff in the first place. Like,
right.
it's just this general want. I have tons of stuff to say about that, but I mean, like,
Okay.
they're
Well,
not buying it just for the watch. It's like it's a luxurious accessory, right? It's just like people wear ties because it's part of the fashion, the culture and shit, right? You don't like the
Some
tie
of it
actually
is
Yeah, it
doesn't
serves
do
some
no
of it
anything.
is
purpose
the
otherwise.
title. Yeah, some of it is a status symbol. Like I can afford a Rolex, and therefore I can buy a Rolex, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
There's another piece, but the thing that people, when they buy watches, they don't say, "I'm buying a Rolex because I want a status symbol to show that hey, I'm more wealthier than." They don't say that.
Well, no
What
shit, because
people
it's gaudy, right? Like that's the funny thing about the rich and trying to be upper class. Like just the thought of being upper class and bourgeois is like you don't want to tell people you want to be fucking bourgeois because that would be too fucking gaudy, right? That'd be too pro. Like you're trying to be like low key, like fucking rich asshole, right?
I told one of my friends that I got an iPhone just because it's a status symbol.
Yeah, but you
yeah,
are not going to be bourgeois by any means.
but it's a
I've seen
status
you.
symbol.
You've had like Soylent for food before.
It's not even food.
But
you
Dear
unfortunately,
God.
you live base. You're like one meal. You're like one missed paycheck away from like living in a box. Yeah, I don't think you care for. You don't care too much about the status symbol.
but here's the thing though: you bought an iPhone, you say it's a status symbol, but it's a status symbol of middle class, right?
Yeah, it's not. It's not luxury. Like you're not elite cream
Yeah. People
of
are
the
not going to
crop.
look at you differently. A girl's not going to give you a number because you bought an Apple phone. But if you
Yeah.
bought a Rolex, that's different. Like if your Tinder profile showed you wearing a Rolex versus you holding an Apple phone, different results. I'm certain.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
No one's gonna get wet for the iPhone.
This could actually be an experiment. Make two
Yeah,
exact same
actually,
profiles.
I would do that because I've done that before in my profile where I went to IKEA to take background pictures to show them like, hey, I live in this nice studio, which I didn't. I just live in my parents' house. But you wouldn't know from my Tinder profile.
What a
Can-
fucking swindler.
Can we get you to make two profiles exactly the same, just the pictures different? One with you with a Rolex or some sort of nice watch, and the other one just like holding your phone up or something like that. Casually.
Yeah,
not
or just
like,
wearing like a
in your
Fitbit.
face.
Like I would think
Yeah.
it's different. Yeah, the watch itself, like it changes you, right? Because as soon as you buy a
Changes.
Rolex, you become snobbier. Because if you look at the people who are into watches, they're very snobby, right? That's a huge thing I recognize. Actually, before we get into this topic, because it's a really big topic, there's a lot of different facets I enjoy about it.
Mm-hmm.
But before we get to that, is to justify how do people justify buying luxury items? And when you think of timepieces, watches, a lot of them talk about like craftsmanship. They'll talk about like, oh, this is a item I can hand down to my generations, right? Because they say like compared to digital items, they're all like items that break. Like, and I do agree. Like when you buy an Apple phone, you don't think of them as something that will last forever. You think of them as like, oh yeah, this will be my phone for 2 to 3 years. But when you're
Yeah,
buying a
more or
timepiece,
less. Yeah,
Mhm.
more or less. The iPhone, you're gonna have functionality from it, right? If the rich and gaudy with the like the snobby people with phones, like they usually would get a luxury case or some shit and be like it'll be something ridiculous, like it's like speckled and fucking shit with diamonds or gold or whatever, or
Mhm.
something like that. Like the phone itself, it's not much you can do with it.
But like with a watch, you could justify it saying, "Hey, this will be passed down to my generation."
Yeah, that
And
is like 99% status and luxury and 1% actual like functionality that you need to
yeah,
get tell the
but
time.
in reality, it's also a lie because I don't know. I don't really get money. Like I get handy downs from my parents, but they're not things that they like. Yeah, I bought this Rolex in the idea that I'm gonna pass it down to you. No, I don't get like that's not the case. They'll be like, oh yeah, we have a spare pan. You could take it. Oh, this is old. You can have it now, kind of thing, right? Like I just get these handy downs, but they're
Yeah.
not like heirlooms that I get.
No, dude.
Like
Well, it's like jewelry, right? It's gonna be the watch is gonna be like that. You get a
yeah,
Rolex.
Yeah, if you're getting into
and
this,
that's the
then
issue.
you could start that tradition in your family. Then just pass it down to your.
But that's an issue because they're just they're things that I made up in my head to justify spending a lot of money on things that are not practical. Because even jewelry, you like yeah, you can pass it down, but like jewelry is a fashion. Like people are not going to be into jade nowadays compared to when they were before, right? Like jewelry is just going to sit in a box and
Oh,
collect
totally
dust.
cut out. Hold on. Can you just repeat what you said? You totally cut out on my end.
Okay, so jewelry when you pass them down, it's a fashion. And because with fashion changed. So like jade that was really in that time may not be in today, right? So watches that I buy today may not be the watches that people would want to wear tomorrow, right?
Well,
And
they may
it's
not wear it,
cyclical.
but as long as it holds its value, I think that's what people want. Like,
And but
remember,
that's the issue with value because you don't know like things with value changes as well, right?
yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
but so that's the other stoppiness comes from because like when you so in the industry the big talkers are Rolex. That's the one that everyone seems to know, and rightly so because they're the most expensive in terms
Mhm.
of brand. They're one of the most expensive.
Ridiculous. It's
Um,
like pretty much you just buy a car instead,
yeah,
you know, with Rolex
Yeah.
potentially.
money.
But like if you look at other brands, there's actually a lot of other brands. There's Seiko, there's Citizens, there's Tissot, there's a lot of these other brands, right?
Yeah.
And they have their own heritage and things like that. But there's also another brand called Microbrand or GoFundMe brand. Or not GoFundMe, sorry. What's that? Kickstarter brand is what I call them.
Go find me, friend.
Sorry. So Kickstarter brand. So there's a brand called Movement, MVMT, right? Started by a guy. And he was
Oh, I've heard of
saying
those.
like, hey, I'm creating this watch brand. I want to make luxury watches affordable to people and da da da. So here's
By the way, they're
issue.
not a sponsor. I know they
No,
sponsor
we're
some
getting sponsored by
podcasts though.
none of these peoples, and yet
But
we're
I do know Movement has sponsored podcasts.
Okay, here's the
sponsor
issue
us,
with Movement.
motherfuckers. Do it.
Movement
Yeah.
movement is very smart in how they market themselves, and I got a lot of this from the snobby watch people. But Movement's really great at marketing stuff because they got a lot of influencers to sell their watches or to talk about their watches, right? But the issue is how they downplay the industry because the issue is they say this. They say like, why should watches be expensive? We can totally make them cheaper by cutting out the middleman. They created this idea of this middleman, and actually that's actually a sales pitch you hear a lot from a lot of industries. They'll say like, oh yeah, we're cheaper because we cut out the middleman. You'll hear that as you like start looking at other startups and stuff. So they'll give you this idea that there's a lot of middleman, which I mean, yes, there's markup, but in terms of like this huge middleman is why it's inflated is not the issue.
No,
Or not
it's
the
probably
case.
it's not that expensive to make a watch like that. Anyway.
Yeah. And like
That's
what
the whole
middleman you're
fucking deal.
talking about. Anyway, here's the thing. They say their watches are da da da. The thing is that the reason their watches are cheap is because they use cheap parts. They don't and the other issue is they don't really have strong designing. Like if you look at moving watches, their watches designs are very uninspirational. They use the words minimalism, like oh we want to keep it minimalist, and that's how they do it.
It should be your favorite. I don't know why you're so
But
griping
it's
against
not
them.
minimalist in the word of intent, because minimalism for me is intent. Like I choose to not have a computer because I know my own like I know myself. I don't really use a computer other than for work. And like a lot of times I'm just on my phone. So like it makes more sense for me to invest in new phones than it is to buy a computer because I don't really use a computer to game or anything because I play games on consoles, right? So that's why I choose not to have a computer. But like even in other minimalist ways, I feel better choosing to have less stuff or give away things than it is to have more stuff. Whereas minimalism in these movement watches, like why do they choose those hand dials? Like why do they choose numbers? Like there's not much of a story. When you look at it, they're very generic. Some of their designs are copycats, or some of their designs are just very plain, right? But they're very good at marketing. They sell you this idea, right? The biggest issue I have with them is the idea that luxury should be affordable. The definition of the word luxury is not to be affordable. That's why they're luxurious. It's for you to splurge on. It's for something that is ridiculous to spend. You shouldn't be spending this money. That's the idea of luxury to me. Luxury should not be affordable. I think that's my biggest gripe.
You're the most bourgeois take ever. The plebs shouldn't be able to afford this.
Exactly. We need to separate the idea that luxury can be attained by everyone, and they cannot be. Only a certain class of people can.
Yeah.
Right?
I think
that's
it's
the
just
idea.
more so luxurious. The way it looks luxurious, not so much the actual thing is luxurious.
And that's the issue too, because watches, they're like, so there's a bunch of brand name like Rolex, Tissot. When you look into the company, that's all they really focus on is making watches. The brands I don't like are brands like clothing brands or jewelry brand like Michael Kors or Guess. Like they make watches, but they're not watches makers. They're like fashion brands. They make watches for fashion, but like they're not. There's no markmanship in that product, right? So like
you
that
basically,
is purely for fashion.
Yeah, well, because the watches are a fashion thing more than just a fucking whatever the hell you want to actually use a watch for.
Yeah, exactly.
But your thing is like you're mad that the plebs are going to be buying these faux luxury watches, right?
Well, I'm mad that this company exists. Like Movement, like I think it's just sending the wrong message.
No,
like,
of course
they don't honor.
In a way, it's a stupid thing. It's like yeah, you're trying to sell luxury for like. I get what you mean.
Well, they claim it's luxury, but it's not actually luxury.
It's kind of like
because the whole thing is fucking perverted already. Like there's this thing has become it has like in our current life and our current time, it's become so like warped and fetishized. It's not even like you got someone trying to sell luxury watches to like trying to make it affordable and shit.
This is almost like the idea of like exercise. Like you have to work, sweat. That's how you lose weight. And there's a program that tells you, hey, why don't you not sweat and lose weight? And then this is how, and they sell you a drug, and I feel like
that's just that's just straight up a grift. I mean, like this guy.
Yeah, if it actually worked, that'd be a different story.
I mean,
luxury itself, but the luxury itself is more similar to a grift than anything. Luxury is made up, right? Like it's all of it is fucking made up.
It is made up,
right? Like it's intangibly tied to like this value, and the value itself is like it has a lot to do with like if your society has become rich in that part, like fucking this value gets it's a sort of like a perversion. This is the best way I can describe it, right? Like it's a perversion where it's like the value has turned into it's in like the economic terms it's like it value itself or whatever. It's like it's commoditized or whatever. Yeah, I'm not doing justice to the whole thing. I'm just trying to fucking
it's like
drunk man's.
Like what we talked about before about money.
Yeah,
it's the whole idea of like this piece of paper has no value, but we give it value.
Yeah, but it is a perversion of value, and because the watch is like I said, it's a jewelry, right? And jewelry had its purpose right in the beginning, where it's like 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 back then, a long time ago, like for people to walk around and shit, like they may not carry all their money that they're gonna use to buy shit in either coins or whatever. Maybe they don't even have paper vouchers and shit. But the jewelry would act as like, like kind of like a walking wallet, right? So it's easy to wear around you. You can wear bangles, you can wear fucking shit around your neck, right? I mean, like that's why the watch. That's how the kind of jewelry. In the beginning, jewelry was quite functional as like you can carry some wealth with you, right? You can travel with it, and it will be carried in a more convenient way, or you can use the trade. But that itself kind of perverts itself into like a status symbol, right? You see a guy with lots of jewelry, like he's much upper class. He's he's a rich person. He can fucking buy you and your whole family or some shit. So like right off the bat, that gets perverted, right? And what we're seeing is just thousands of years of this perversion of value in luxury stuff like jewelry, but now luxury itself, just like the feeling of luxury, right? You can get fucking luxury, fucking luxury cars and shit, luxury phone case. Like it itself, it's just like it is just this weird warping of just like of a hierarchy, right? And fucking that people, if they got the chance, and if you could buy like promoting yourself in some sort of weird in this societal hierarchy, people would fucking do it. I think that's has a lot to do with like people will like flash their shit, right? Their fucking drip on Instagram and shit, right? Like they'll take the fucking pictures and pose with like Rolexes and whatever, right? The drug dealers, the cartels in Mexico, they would gold plate their AK-47s and shit, right? I mean, the watches are just part of that. Like, who gives a like no one's fucking buying it for like functionalities or time, but like you look the part of a guy of a person that's much higher class than what your station is. For people that like spend way too much money to get luxury stuff, like a big portion of their paychecks, that's what kind of goes through their minds. And then if you're not just like fucking posing with it, if you're actually super rich and shit, yeah, you're just showing off your status. It's your peacock feathers.
Like I want to mention, like you talk about functionality. So this is my take on watches, because like as I'm looking into watches, there's a lot of different type of watches. There's like diver watches, there's chronograph watches, there's pocket watches, heritage watches, things like that. There's all these terms you probably flying through over your head, right? But the thing I found with watches is that the idea of a watch is that you have this little small winding spring, and that's your battery of your watch. So then you wind up your watch, right? Set your time and stuff, and then that little spring will power your whole watch. So you have this limited resource power, but then what they start doing is like, oh, let's add complications. So complications are things outside of your hands of your watch. So like a date, right? Is a complication. But so it's like, well, that date is also run by the same spring. So then they're like, oh, what else can we start doing? And then they're like, oh, let's add a stopwatch, which is a chronograph watch. So then you have another hand that is run independently of the clock hand that counts counts time, right? That counts like a stopwatch. And then you have other switches and stuff. But that's also run by the little tower thing. And then you start having other complications like diver watches. They're all about water resistance. Because when you go to buy watches, the salesman will always tell you like, oh yeah, this is like 200 meter or 2 bar of water depth and stuff, and tell you how water resistant it is. But in reality, no one's gonna swim with their damn Rolex
their watch
underwater. Like, yeah, you could buy a diver's watch. Yeah, it's waterproof. Water won't get in.
But why would you ever do amphibious?
That's why I don't really get the whole phones showing like their IP rating or whatever for waterproof.
Well, phone makes sense because you might accidentally drop it. But like watches, is you have to intentionally thought of like, hey, I'm wearing a diver. I'm gonna.
Yeah, you gotta like take it off and shit.
Like even on the diver's watch, what makes the diver watch? You can tell if it's a diver's watch. They generally they have this outside bezel with numbers on it, and sometimes they'll have blue and red to show like oxygen levels. So you can like. The idea, I think, is to like.
It's just mimicking like the scuba divers and.
Exactly.
Shit,
so you're supposed to look at your hand and then like set like 60 seconds on it so that like, oh, when my hand reaches, like it'll get. And that's why I'll also watch it glow in the dark, is because if you're underwater, there's no light, so you need it to illuminate, right? So anyway, my whole shtick is watches are very like their functionality are impractical, right? Because one, even the part of telling time is impractical because no one uses a watch to tell time, right? And because everyone has smartphones. Because in watches, luxury watches, there's two versions. There's the quartz watch and what do you call automatic watch. So quartz uses a battery. So battery powered watches are more precise. You don't need to wind them up all the time. They last longer. They're cheaper. Da da da. They have a bunch of benefits, but the ones that are more expensive are automatic watches. They're the ones that runs on gears. You have to manually wind them up and stuff. They're all these like old school methods, but they're the ones that people value. Like when you think of luxury watches, those are the ones people buy. Quartz watches, people don't like. Again, the snobs don't even look at them because they're like affordability into our luxuriousness. But I do think there's quartz are very practical if they're everyday watches. You don't have to like wind them all the time. It's kind of nice, but it is hilarious. And when I think of like Apple watches, they're just as unfunctional because the latest Apple Watch, what did they try to sell you with? They try to sell you the blood oxygen. They're like, oh yeah, this new watch can read us our blood oxygen. I think that's the idea of watches.
Well, that's kind of like an injection of functionality into wearing a watch again. Like when they first came out with pocket watches and even wrist watches, like people actually used it more to tell time and stuff, right? Like 1800s, start of the 19th century and shit. But now it's not really a functionality; it's just a fucking piece. It's an accessory. It's basically like for a long time, men couldn't wear a bracelet because they was kind of like, "What are you fucking gay or some shit?" But you can wear a watch, and then that'll be your jewelry and shit for your.
And it's so funny because like there's on chronograph does the stop timer watch. They also have a a dial called the tachymeter, and that gives you the ability to like measure speed and stuff. But it's like a math problem. You have to have all these like components that does exactly like if a car travels exactly the same speed and you know that there's a certain distance, you can figure out how fast a car is traveling.
Yeah,
like it's like so ridiculous. You
that stuff's trying to cash in. Yeah, that's trying to cash in on some like fucking shitty cool factor, right?
Yeah, it's just another function that they could brag about having. Or
but it's a function just you brag about, but you never use. You'll never.
It's just one of the things. Oh, you could be like, oh yeah, my watch has this shitty functionality.
Yeah,
no one
it's
really
like quantity over quality kind of thing.
There's gonna be watches that moon phases, like you tell you the moon phases. And you're like, oh,
a watch that can tell you what Chinese New Year it is or whatever the fuck.
It's so ridiculous.
Useless. But the watches are right now. There's an injection of functionality, especially with the smartwatches, because you can do something that, especially health wise, that's the big hit that they're going with, right? Like you can monitor heartbeats, and you can monitor if you get a watch and monitor.
Well, they're trying to sell you. They're trying to sell you like, oh yeah, if you fall and you can't get up your feet, your watch will call SOS.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Well, yeah. That's a kind of a sell, right? And that's like the target for that is pretty small. Like, it'll be mostly like old people and shit that need assistance or whatever.
Well, that's why the Apple, whenever they announce their like new watches, they show a bunch of these like, having the new watch saved my life because it caught this, or like, it recorded this problem, so like I saw my doctor and it saved my life.
Yeah, but what they're showing with that is basically like, look how fucking powerful and how fucking like how much of a big deal this watch is. Like they're trying to showcase the technology and shit, right? Like and health wise, but it's not really divorced that much from reality, because if you can imagine they come out with a watch that can just monitor your blood sugar without having to prick you. Like for diabetes or whatever, like that would be a big fucking thing. Like whoever comes up with that's gonna make a lot of money. Yeah,
that's only if you have the condition. But
they get you with everything else. Like they get you with like monitoring your heartbeats, or you could just use seamlessly with your phone on and all that shit. Like this is like the Rolexes, if you think about it, it's like old money. It's like old money, luxury rich, right? This is like new money, luxury rich. Like,
but it's old not money, like you can measure your heart rate before, though. Like you can measure heart rate by just looking at your watch and counting the beats in a minute, right? You can measure your heart rate the manual way. Like people think they need a watch to know their heart rate, but you can do that before. It's not like you unlock an ability.
Most people are not going to do that. It's not like everybody, like measure whatever was if you're, like people are not walking around with like protractors and shit and trying to just figure shit out like manually with math, right?
But
the more
that's what I'm
convenient it
saying.
is,
Yeah.
the more convenient it is, the more it's gonna fucking sell. Like, but this
But
is the
like
new money stuff because they're like saying they're not really saying give us the money for the fucking prestige and luxury, but it's like give us the money for how functional and how powerful this watch, this accessory that you're wearing is.
I think there's just an illusion to think that watches are functional. Like digital watches and luxury watches, they're not functional. They're not. I think that's the idea I want to get across. Because anything you could do on a smartwatch, you could already do before. Like it's not like those abilities exist because of the smartwatch.
I would say you're right for everything except the ones that do want to monitor the health because, like, it is a very convenient way to do it.
Okay, fair enough.
If you
But
were
like, I
in
mean,
that
there's
category.
devices you could get like Harman or something. But yeah, you're right. You could.
Well,
You
no,
could
well, like
forego it
Harman,
for a smartwatch.
yeah, those are fucking like those are big cumbersome things. Like those are
Mhm.
those are like an actual thing you got to deal with. Well, watch, it's just on your wrist, and also this is normal in society, basically, right?
Yeah.
Like that's one of
Well,
the
it's
things
like
that
one less thing you have to carry around.
Okay.
it's one
yeah,
less thing you have to carry, and also there's nothing that differentiates you from someone else. Like nobody can tell that you're monitoring your heart rate just by wearing a watch. Like that's what a lot of people want, right?
See,
for a lot of people
here's the
with
thing I think would be
conditions.
cool is if they make it a luxury watch that can monitor your heart rate, monitor your heart rate. That would be fantastic. Because it's like the idea of adding another like ridiculous complication to a watch that you're like, what? How's that practical for an everyday person? But for one specific individual, life threatening, and they need it. I think that would be hilarious.
I don't even think you need to make anything like that luxury at all. I mean, like for that, I'm just honestly straightforward. You just try to make it as cheap as possible for anybody that needs to get it, right?
Yeah,
And the
correct.
more convenient it is, the more convenient. I mean, like still with an Apple, the Apple Watch, you still gotta shell out a bunch of money to get it, right?
But it's
I
a
mean,
fraction of what a Rolex would cost.
yeah,
They're very affordable.
I wouldn't want it to be a fucking luxury for people that actually need it to, like monitor heart rates and blood
Yeah.
sugar levels and shit like that. So I would be like, no, fuck the luxury. I get like the funny thing is you pointed out that one company that's trying to do like affordable luxury watches, right?
Yeah.
And that's already like that itself is the perversion of the perversion, right? It's kind of
the perversion of the perversion.
yeah, it's the perversion of the perversion of the perversion. So it's like people, like you could tell, like it's completely off the base. Like, oh yeah, you're right. We're just like, yeah, why the luxury ones are luxury because of that. Like, should make like what are you trying to do? Just trying to make luxury affordable? Like, it's already fucked to the point where it's like it's all twisted and
It is
unrecognizable.
interesting.
Anyways,
it is interesting when you dive into the luxury idea. Like, what are people's values? Why do people spend a lot on impractical things like that? Right? I thought it's an interesting idea. Okay. Anyways, a couple of other things. When you look into watches, there are things like straps and stuff, and that stuff is kind of interesting. I think
that's one of the things that at the Apple watches and stuff they're trying to go the luxury route with the straps. With the straps.
Oh, actually, I'm losing my voice here. Okay, so the big thing with luxury or watch enthusiasts is all about heritage, all about honoring the times of before, right? Like how watches aren't made. And so you would hear a lot of criticisms on these rappers because when they buy Rolexes, the first thing they like to do is ice it out. And then these watch enthusiasts will be like, oh, you just made the watch worth less than it was before.
Wait, what do they do?
Yeah,
they
like
bedazzle
custom,
it, basically.
yeah, they bedazzle it.
They bedazzle it, and then they're like, you made the watch look is worth less now because you bedazzle with all these diamonds and stuff. Because it's not the original, right? Because it's almost like comic book art or collecting comic book. It's like in this original.
Yeah, you want mint condition and stuff like that.
They and then now that you've dazzled it, it's like worth less. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, like it is stupid. They assign like a pedigree to the watches. Like for Rolex, they assign like a pure what a pure
reading.
Rolex should be, right? A purebred Rolex.
So it's interesting, and it's I don't know, like when you like, that's the thing too. I think for me, the reason I was looking into this because I wanted to get a dress piece, because for a lot of my formal wear, I don't really stand out. So I thought a watch would be a nice piece to the collection, and maybe
Right.
down the road.
Did you like what? Did you have like were you like a watch head before? Like, did you like watches and were you interested in before, or
No,
is this something that you just found out recently that there's a bunch
I
of
totally just found out
luxury?
recently. Started deep
Jesus.
diving, just started reading about it, understanding the culture. It's almost like flat earther, It's like this whole like world, like how people think, how do people justify themselves into buying these. Oh, the funny thing about automatic watches, the salesman will tell you like, oh yeah, you just wear it, you wind it up a little bit, and then it'll last you for days. It'll have a certain power reserve, right? And it's kind of cool technology because like as long as you move your wrist a bit, your watch will self wind
Yeah,
itself,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
So here's the issue: is this title will be called the price of ownership. What is the true price of ownership? Because when you think of like, hey, I bought this watch for $1,000, you would think the watch is worth $1,000, or you paid $1,000. But that's not true, because when you buy a watch, suddenly there's all these upkeep prices, like
The
maintenance,
maintenance.
and then you have to start considering you have to like bring in for service. And then once you start having a big watch collection, and say most of them are automatic, you have to wind them, and say you don't want to wind them all the time, and you want to wear a different one every day, then you have to buy this self-winding or an automatic winder, which looks like a rotisserie chicken for watches. You would like put it on a little pillow and put it in the machine, and the machine would like roll your watch around to keep it winding. And then you have to like discover, and then you start, as you keep deep diving, you like discover like all these costs associated with it, and it just like gives me anxiety at this point.
This is
Like,
when they say like an entire industry springs up. This is what they mean, but it's like the most dumbest fucking thing.
it's like
I think it's like that
upon
for a lot of
problems.
hobbies, though.
Yeah, it's like a lot of hobbies.
Yeah, like all these
Because
different hobbies.
Because when
that
you
have,
collect like magic cards, you have to buy or sleeves, right, to protect your cards.
yeah, sleeves and like
Then you have to buy
binders and
binders
stuff,
because then
and
your collection gets too big, and then
yeah,
you have to like you have to get them cased, because if it's super rare, then you want it to get like someone who examines it and puts a case on it, so when you sell it, it retains its maximum value. And
yeah.
you're
There's
just like
always gonna be more and more to buy
more and more, yeah.
for these
And it's
enthusiasts.
all these problems are all self-imposed. It's all things
Yes,
we made up
it's
for
all made
ourselves.
up. Yeah,
And
it's
it's
all made
like,
up.
it's not like hunger where it's a real thing. Like if you don't eat, you'll die. But it's like, yeah, it's ridiculous. It's like
Yes,
this. It's funny. I think it's funny when you get into the luxury watches. You get into this whole idea, and you're like, oh man, these people's lives.
luxury itself is enough. It's enough of a thing that's so weird if on the face of it. That when you really think about it, it's like really fucked up. It's quite twisted in a way, and I don't mean like fucking horror twisted, but it's just like if you really think about it, a lot of it won't make sense, right?
Yeah, it
And then
doesn't make
and then
sense.
you'll be like, yeah, and then you'll be amazed, like, wow, we can really get fucked up about such weird things. Like people can get really fucked, like they can assign so much like value and like worth and like, fucking worry about status
It's
and
like
shit over like such weird ways that we all interact
when
with
I
each
was a
other.
kid, I look at blue jeans, and I wore like $20 blue jeans. They weren't very comfortable, things like that. And then I have a cousin who bought like $300 blue jeans, and I'm like, wow, that's crazy, right? But when I went from a $20 blue jean to like $50 blue jeans, yeah, I could actually feel a big difference. It's like a lot more comfortable, and like they last longer. And then like when you start moving these brackets, but like there's like a threshold where your blue jeans doesn't get like twice as better as you move up the money line. Like it gets like slightly better.
That tapers off.
It like starts tapering off, and you're like, it's like minuscule betterness, right? But the price is ridiculous as you get to like $300 to $500 a pair
Yeah,
of blue jeans.
Yeah, and
And
at
like,
some point, it's
it's
just about the brand.
yeah, it's
yeah,
the brands
exactly.
itself. Yeah, because we literally make all this shit up. Like jeans are just a fucking work band,
Yeah,
right?
And then the jeans, the more expensive the jean is, the more impractical they are, right?
Yeah,
Because
they're
they start
like
having
rips in
holes. They
it.
start having rips, and it reminds you of the watches again. That the more expensive they get, they just become more like they just add stuff for the sake of like we talked about Vanta Black before, right? The most
Yeah.
blackest
Yeah.
material. They have a watch that's 75 grand with Vanta Black on it. So like it's so black.
For whatever
can't-
reason.
Well, it's well in the case where the light is so bright it washes out black, it will not wash out your watch, right? Because it's so black, it'll absorb all that light. It'll stay black here. And I think it looks really nice. It looks like a really nice watch. But
It
costs
better
really-
look nice.
But like it's ridiculous. And then who's that boxer? Conor
Floyd. Oh,
McGregor.
Oh, Conor
Uh,
McGregor. He's
okay, yeah,
UFC.
Conor McGregor. He's
He-
not a
he
boxer.
had- Oh, sorry, he's the fighter. But he wears a watch that's worth $1 million that he bought from the same company who did the Vanta Black one. And he has like this like
I mean, he has the money
weird
for that.
constellation watch thing. And the part that tells the time is barely legible. Like you just have to, it's like he's wearing a fish bowl on his wrist. That's how impractical his watch is.
He's
That's
That's
how
bought the money
upscale he is.
That's he's just showing off the wealth.
yeah.
Like
He
that's
just wears.
that's just it. Like at a certain point in society, like you get to a point where people will pay money to show off how much money that they have.
Yeah. And then like again, more upkeep. Because like the more expensive your watch is, suddenly you have to think about like insurance.
Oh, I'm sure he doesn't care about upkeep for it.
Yeah. But that's my issue with luxury brands or price of ownership. You don't really know how much something costs until you have it. Like that's my whole idea of like why I want to be a minimalist or why I'm trying to live my life as a minimalist so that I don't have to worry about these things. Because as soon as I buy something, it's not just the cost of buying it. Then you have to think of the cost of like where to store it and like how to maintain it, and then if it breaks, where to dispose it. Like all these costs are coming up. It's really annoying.
Yeah, man. And if it's something that you have to, it's meant to be shown off to people, you will be paying fucking maintenance and shit on it. Like after you buy a T-shirt, you're not going to take it to the dry cleaners, but where your suit, your expensive like 2-piece suit that you bought, you're gonna have to take that shit to the dry
Yeah,
cleaners.
because we have a buddy
if you wanna
who's
maintain
into
it.
like suits and stuff, and I wonder how often does he have to go dry cleaning.
Yeah.
It's like oh man, it's a nightmare. Well, maybe for him it's like it's normal because that's a daily routine, but to me is who's someone who only has one suit.
Yeah, but the thing is
Find it
like
a nightmare.
for our friend, I think I know who you're talking about. Yeah, he has like a fucking he has like I guess a hobby of just trying to collect suits and shit. But like in society, like it's expect like the suit is something that's expected almost in a
Yeah.
very formal workplace. So it's like you can't just get around. You can't just it's not just limited to a hobby. Some people actually need to own one and upkeep one just to fucking get an income. So
Yeah,
like
it is someone's job, and
so
and
it's
like
even that part I think is even like it's even more
that part
fucked
I
up
think is
and
annoying
weird.
too. Because like I
Yeah.
would think like, how would anyone know if I bought this like the same Walmart suit and I have 5 of them?
Well, that's the whole thing. Like you gotta maintain it like this. You gotta wear your tie. Like all of it is.
It's
just
very
for-
yeah, and then like yeah, because like one of my friends, she's an actress, and she has a lot of upkeep too because she has to buy all these like different clothes and stuff that she only wears for a movie set for one time, and like
So
she will
fun.
have like they'll tell you like oh wear like please bring like a leather jacket that is like I don't want a leather jacket, and she has to go get one for this
Yo,
job.
isn't there? Don't
That's
they
not high
have
end
like?
then. Yeah, they should have like a costume department if it's actually high
The
end.
costume department is for the main actress and main
Okay,
actors, but they don't have it for like doubles and like extras. Right?
You know what? Maybe it's because we don't fucking live in like LA or some shit. Because I would guarantee. I know I don't want to guarantee. I want to. I have a hard guess.
Yeah.
That this is probably already exists, but I think they have like clothing rentals for extras that will appear in whatever
there's
movie.
clothing rentals, but then again, if you get similar parts, it might be cheaper to own that jacket, right? And
Well,
you
now if
get-
you're just gonna wear it one time for a shoot.
well, like that's the problem. It's like in movie industry, you never know what job you're gonna get.
I mean, if it's
That-
undeveloped here, then that's probably why there's nothing. She has to buy it herself instead of like renting it and shit.
Yeah. So, anyways, there's the price of ownership. It's the issue. It's a hidden fee. You never know.
It's
what it
all
costs.
bloat. It's literally societal bloat. Like one way you can like and work. The thing is like all of it is very normalized for all of us because from the moment we're born and to like even when you start to have like consciousness that yeah you're fucking you're a thing, yeah, or whatever, you exist. Like it's already all around you, like your dad
Yeah.
or whoever
Well,
wears a
even
watch.
even
People
us
wear suit.
ourselves, right?
Yeah,
Because like
you see on TV like this people wear watches, people wear suits, they dress up, they show off their status, and it's all very normal to you from the moment you're born, right? I mean, but a good way to kind of like always put it to do like a very bare base like look at everything and just to see it for what it really is. A good way to do it is just to do like a reset, a hard reset scenario to right, and one of the ways to do that is like, okay, imagine you have all this wealth. Imagine you're one of those guys that has a Rolex or you wear, like a fucking like a couple $1,000, like thousands of dollars worth of like Armani suits and shit, or you drive luxury cars, right?
yeah.
Like you talk to anybody like, oh, why would you buy all that shit or whatever, and they'll give you like a million reasons, right? Like they'll be like, yeah, the quality or just the
Handing it
exclusivity.
down,
Oh yeah, or even just like, yeah, just
investment.
or if they could be true about it and be like, yeah, it's literally just for class prestige and shit. But you
Just
can,
for clout. Just to just
yeah,
show you I'm richer than
but
you.
you can stone cold just show how absolutely worthless it is in actuality. If you just say, okay, imagine you're Tom Hanks in Castaway. You're stranded on a desert island, right? And you have like a $20,000 Rolex, right? Now what do you do? Like in that
Yeah, you
scenario
can
where
tell what time it is.
yeah, in that
Huh.
scenario
I
when
could
you
dive in the water.
exactly, no one else, there's nothing, no one else is there to exchange anything with you for that watch, right? Or that luxury item. At
Yeah.
that moment, when you take the base society to literally zero, you find out what is fucking worthless and what is
So
actually
It's the
sorry.
has
perspective
function.
of things.
Yeah.
I was expecting when you're saying we should reset, it's a thing people should do is like, yeah, when you're this wealthy, you should totally just cash away yourself in an island to understand the value.
I mean, that's one way to do it.
Fucking do it. Yeah, you reach that $1 billion, it's mandatory for you to fucking cash out and like I want donate it somewhere and you fuck off to an island somewhere.
Well, I feel like it's like the way of how to live your life, like this philosophy of like to not get too, what do you call
You have
it?
to, yeah, you have to pull a Buddha. You gotta get rid of all your wealth. You gotta go and fucking
Change
be
your
a monk.
mindset.
I do think it's important to be grounded again. That when you get all this success or wealth, you lose
Of
sight of
course.
things, right? So being castaway, I think it's
Of course,
might
but
be a
like
harsh
it's very
word.
hard to do when society itself is not even grounded anymore.
I'd say
right?
it's more about
see.
moderation, like some people just do these things, it's a hobby, it's what they enjoy doing. But, live within your means. If you're like a suit collector or whatever, you like having a bunch of suits, it's like, yeah,
But
sure, that's fine, but
that's the
don't
danger of
go overboard.
moderation. It's because you don't know when you're in the deep end until it's too late. Because
Yeah, because
like,
the guy that spends a lot and shit, like in his mind, he's being pretty moderate too.
because
Right?
when you realize you have this rotisserie chicken set for your watches, you don't think of yourself like, have I gone to the deep end?
Have I gone
I
too
got-
far? What have I
too many
become?
watches?
I mean, as long as you're enjoying it and you still have enough food to live your life normally, like food, water, pay your rent or whatever, electricity bill, then you're probably still fine. Don't let it
Yeah.
take over your life,
Oh,
though.
dude, yeah. Well, that's the whole thing. Like Conor McGregor can afford that fucking that watch that costs like a fucking like a human life or some
Yeah,
shit,
whatever,
right?
$1 million.
And yeah, like he's definitely can buy within his means, but it's like it's outside of the effect that it has, the butterfly effect. It's just outside of his like consciousness and his ability to it's like a single person's comprehension, because what it kind of does when it ripples down is people see that these people have these items and they want to mimic that, right? And then society itself just morphs itself into a way where you have people that will try to be like that and try to mimic that, right? So it's like it's impossible for like individuals to not have an effect anyways, right? Because everyone, the more, especially the more wealth and the more power you have, you're going to have an effect on the society in these ways. And usually it creates this more layers of like this convoluted perverseness that society sort of like gravitates around and then starts to make
Like,
just pretend value out of stuff, right? So it's unescapable. Like even if you wanted to if you kept to yourself, but if what you like doing as you keep to yourself is like showcases like this hierarchy in society in a way that other people want to emulate, like other people covet, it's going to create something. It's going to create that effect.
so like my idea, like when I heard about watches, this is a long time ago, but I remember hearing a guy who talked about watches as like a statement piece, and he tried to be a rebel, and he just put a slap risk on himself to show like, he's trying to be meta and stuff. But then he realizes he wasn't getting the same business as people who wear nice watches.
So then he went and bought a watch.
So then he had to start getting into watches, and then like the thing is, like as Lindsay was saying, it's not just an individual thing, but also a societal thing. Like for example, like when you have a significant other and you're going out and stuff,
yes,
and they want you to look nice, and then suddenly you have to start getting into things like getting watches and stuff.
Yeah, no shit. Like I say all of this, and I still went and bought an engagement ring for my wife, right? Like because it's just the way this society is that way, right? Like
you could totally be like, this whole idea is ridiculous, but you have to cave in because
it is. I know it, and she knows it too in a way. But like you still have to go through it because in a way the society. Yeah, exactly. Society aggregate. Like
all our friends are going to ask her, "Where's the ring? Let's see."
Exactly, right? Aggregate mass is a being of itself.
So like if all the wives have rings, then all the guys start having watches. Like if as soon as one guy has a watch, then it's like, hey, Jessica bought his husband a watch. Where's my watch? And then this whole thing just feeds on itself.
Yeah, man. Like I'm gonna when I show up to a funeral and stuff, like the whole expectation is like you gotta dress up as well as you can, right? As a sign of respect. Even though like even though it's literally different depending on what kind of like customs that the society lives in, and also like the stuff you wear can border onto the ridiculous. Right?
Yeah, and also you have to be sad at funerals. What's up with that?
Yeah, and like
you can't crack jokes there.
all of this is like, even if you are totally in like fucking like conscious of all of it, but you do it for that moment because society has this fucking
and that's really annoying. That's the
that
annoying
you have
thing
to ride on
with relationship, right? Because if you're single, you'll be like, oh, I don't care what people think. And you can be, and it's fine. You can totally not wear watches, all that stuff. But it seems like you're in a relationship, you might not care, but they care. And then you suddenly are kind of put in this position of me care, right? Because if you care about their happiness, unfortunately, some of it comes down to that too. Because you could feel like, oh, it's fine if I don't do my hair. But then when you're going out, then suddenly like you're going with someone else, then you have to get my hair, and then it just starts.
It's just because you have someone else you want to please.
Exactly.
And, they have a different perspective that you have to comply
enjoy
with.
Your time, Jason.
No.
Well, even by himself, like there's always a cost if you go against the tide of society.
That's true. You could be outcasted.
Yeah.
A what? Castaway?
Outcast.
Oh, outcast. All I heard was cast.
But like I said, you can always do that fucking cleanse, that restart of that perspective. Just put it all onto like nothing. Just juxtapose it onto nothing.
And by imagining it or doing it, like
think about whatever, right? And you just juxtapose onto nothing, and then I know because some people, because like I said, you have this momentum in society to perverse these things, and you yourself is kind of like already twisted by these things, like to the point where people will not understand. They may just actually view all these things as having inherent value in itself, right? Like you have a lot of guys that are very materialist in the very detrimental and bad sense, right? Like all they can view, even in relationships, is just transaction and value. Like this is what it kind of produces. Like this is the logical conclusion of what our society kind of produces right now, right? Like that's like If you're not that, it means you're actively like resisting parts of the influences of society. But if you totally give in, that's kind of what the product logically is. It's just a guy that's super fucking. It's this person that's super greedy and views every human interaction as in a transactional sense, and fucking values basically the perverse because the perverse has value.
All right. Think anyone else want to add to this, or any final thoughts, conclusions?
I think that's a good message to our audience. Keep things within perspective.
Yes, don't
Otherwise, that's,
don't.
I don't know a good
fucking
way to end
blow-
off on a good note.
I feel like we gave like such a bleak idea because we also said that because it's societal and so invisible, you don't even recognize it sometimes. Even by telling people to be aware.
Oh,
I'm
definitely.
not sure
We're all
what
with-
aware is.
It's
We're all
completely
in
unrecognizable.
society.
We all are in society. You must change society.
Exactly. Like Zen
Rise
Zen's
up.
telling us we gotta cast away ourselves. Say suits and watches are worth nothing when you're on an island without technology.
Things
So,
are only worth what people assign to it. So if
It's
there's no way
even
to
it's
define
even
it-
more deeper and convoluted and all that. If one of these days you really want to fucking fall asleep and listen to me talk, I can talk about like value and fucking.
what's your hobby that I guess I want to finish off is like what is your guys' hobby that's kind of ridiculous but it's something that brings you enjoyment?
I collect like toy airplanes, toy jets, toy
Yeah.
fighter jets.
I
I
remember those.
collect absolutely anything. I am materialistic. I am terrible with money. That's why I have so much stuff that I don't need.
Wait,
Yeah.
so you two-
well,
you
a
would-
lot
you
of
would
people
totally
are like,
love-
that's normal.
You would totally love luxury watches. Like you should
No, I
totally
can't
look
afford
into
it. The stuff I
No.
have is like cheap, crappy stuff.
There's really affordable ones like Orient is a
I
really
already
good
have 3 watches that I don't
brand.
need.
Oh, really nice. What's are they? What brand are they?
Belova was one of them. One of them's a
Uh,
Roots watch, which my grandpa gave me a long time
yeah.
ago. Which,
Nice.
strangely enough, when I brought it in for like a battery change or something one time, I brought it to the watch store,
Yeah.
and they're like, "Oh," I tell them, "It's like, oh, I just need my watch fixed or whatever." And he's like, "I was like, oh, where'd you get it from?" I'm like, "Oh, I got it from my grandpa." And he's like, "Oh," and then he looks at the watch. He's like, "Oh, you mean he bought it for you?" It's like, "Yeah, I mean, it wasn't passed down." I'm like,
Yeah,
God,
it's not
what?
Yeah, I think he would probably look at it thinking it'd be like a Seiko or like a
Your
some
grandfather
automatic.
is also quite the rebel.
Well, yeah, none of my family was ever rich. Like, I'll still treasure this Roots watch. I won't get rid of it by any means. I haven't.
No,
worn
I
it,
mean
but,
like
I'll
you're
keep
usually
it,
not.
but-
Usually Chinese people don't give watches or clocks as a gift.
Yeah, I know. I found that out after I gave my dad a watch. And I told
He's
my
like,
friend
what the
that- No,
fuck?
my dad liked it, and then I even said to him like after I found out from my friend that told me he's like, oh, generally Chinese people don't give clocks or watches
what did you
away
buy
as
your
gifts.
dad a watch? What kind of watch did you buy your dad? Do you know?
Oh, I don't remember. It was a very long time ago.
Well, how do you know what watch to buy him?
No, I just went to a store and be like, oh, this one looks nice.
Yeah, if I buy watch, it's just gonna be
And within my
literally on
price
looks.
range.
It'll just be
Oh,
literally
okay.
on looks.
Yeah, I think I don't know. That's still dangerous because you could totally buy like a fashion watch and it doesn't have that hair.
Well, all watches are gonna be pretty much fashion.
My
anyway,
dad's not
so-
gonna like do research on the watch and be like, oh, hey, this thing is like, yeah, I don't
You
know,
gave me
not a-
garbage.
I'm not think your dad's gonna do it. I think it's like some guy who has like a Rolex or some.
You know what?
brand, and they're gonna look at your dad's watch and be like, interesting.
You know what I thought? I mean, like, if you have kids, they're gonna have such a fucking terrible time buying you gifts.
Oh, well, I'm a minimalist. I wouldn't want gifts in the first place.
They
That's
buy
even
it.
worse. They get you anything and they're already gonna expect disappointment.
I would look at them like, do I have a place to store this? Like, what
You
are
would look at them and be
thinking?
like, "Do you still want to be in this family?"
Like, do I need this? Like, where I'm gonna store it?
How
What's the
dare
cost of
you buy me this
maintenance?
gift?
Like,
I've
I
done
don't know.
zero research on it, and you have the balls to buy me this gift.
That actually also, yeah, that would be that would that would kind of like annoy me, I guess.
Right
I
on the
wasn't-
fucking money.
if I
Save
didn't,
this recording for when his kids are like of
like if
age
someone
to
wanted
give
to
him
get me a
presents.
watch and I never knew about watches, then I wouldn't know if I got something was like, timeless, mark craftsmanship kind of thing versus, iced out kind of department store watch kind of thing. I don't know. Now that I got into this watch hobby, it's interesting.
Anything that you want to ever collect will get you into a rabbit hole. I mean, like I used to buy like just like swords to kind of like collect as well.
Like
And
butcher
there's a
knives?
lot. No, like
kitchen knives?
actual swords.
Actual swords.
Like
Swords.
katanas?
Like yeah, those kind of swords.
Damn.
And but the crowd, but I would never really want to get into it because just the crowd of people that fucking get hard-ons for swords. Like they're fucking some of them are the most like anal folks that you can ever meet too, right? And I don't know, a lot of them are a bunch of fucking weebs just because
Yeah.
a lot of weebs and love like katanas and all that shit. And think
Actually, it's funny because my girlfriend's really into plants, and she wasn't into plants before, but since COVID, she got into the plant stuff, and now she's in like.
I will tell
fruits,
you,
and
I will tell you straight up that the plant crowd is probably a much more healthy and better crowd than the sword collecting crowd.
Ooh,
I will
them
tell you
fighting
that.
words.
I will
What's your
tell you
wife?
that.
What's your wife into? Is she into plants? Is she into plant hobby?
No, she's not really into plant. No.
Ah,
Right now she's just into like BTS, so she will spend the fucking money to buy
Yes, behind the
BTS
scenes.
merch. Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
BTS merch.
Yes,
She must be.
she loves behind the scenes.
She must have been pissed about the Grammys. They
Behind
just
the
used them for
No,
Or like
she's not a fucking. She's not insane. Like, there's a lot of people that were insane. Like, they're BTS
Mhm.
fans. Literally,
Mhm.
anything short of them winning everything the universe has to offer is the only acceptable outcome for them.
Fair
No,
enough. Fair enough.
she was just like, oh, they didn't win. Boo. That was it. She wasn't like fucking.
People were like, "What the hell? They sold the most record, da da da," and like you're just using them for the clout. You don't even care.
crazy.
That's yeah. Fair
Yeah,
enough.
now
BTS do have
yo,
some devoted
BTS like
fans.
yo, their fandom, I expect that, like if they just go a little bit into the deep end, they're gonna be fucking crazy. Like Star Wars fans, right? Like the hardcore Star Wars fans,
Yeah.
fucking like they're just like one snap away from being like psycho killers, right?
Oh wait. Sorry.
Fanatics.
There's something I want to bring back. You said you got 3 watches. I think we heard 2 from Jason.
Yes.
Bolivia, Roots. What's the third one?
Weirdly enough, it's my newest one, but I don't remember what the brand is.
Oh wow, nice.
I could check real quickly, but that'd require me to.
Actually, it's funny
Rent
because there's a
another
brand
one.
called Seiko. It's a Japanese brand, well known, but there's a modder group, kind of like it reminds of like rice rockets, where like people buy these
Soup
cars
up
and
your
they
watch.
soups up the watch. Yeah, they will like change the piece and make it look like other stuff. They'll try to make it look like a Rolex or try to make it look like something else. It's kind of cool.
Oh
It's like a whole
god.
community. It's called the
Import.
Seiko modder watch.
Is your watch an import? If not, then get out of here, trash.
Pretty much,
Well,
yeah.
I
It's a whole
missed what you
community.
said because I went to go get the watch. It's
Oh,
an
sorry, go
Armani
ahead.
watch.
Armani. Okay.
Fashion. Fancy bourgeois.
I think because
It was from the you know how like Cross or like Watch Station or whatever the hell that watch store is called. They occasionally had like 50% off sales and stuff like that at random times. And I just remember I went in there and got it during that time. Just because
Man,
it's a
you got
very
on sale.
simplistic looking watch.
I was gonna think it's gonna look really flashy because like Bulova is a very flashy brand because a lot of their watches have these designs, like artistic designs and stuff.
Yeah, I don't have any like super flashy, tons of unneeded function type watches.
Yeah. Well, that's my idea. I'm gonna wear a fancy watch, and people are gonna look at me, and then we're like, "Oh, nice watch," and I could tell them the whole history of deep diving into the luxury watch world.
You should
That's
save
the
your
only
money
reason I
and
got this Armani one. It's just like white face, black leather band. That's about it.
you should save your money and just buy a knockoff. You know what? I can just give you my knockoff Rolex, and then that could be your conversation.
I don't want someone call me out and be like, that's fake, bro. What the hell are you doing?
They won't be unless you fucking shove it in their face. They're not gonna be able to tell.
Well, I don't know if I become a snob on watches, but like I feel like
Inadvertently, you've morphed into the snob just by doing the
Exactly.
research.
just by researching, yeah, I've adopted the weird thing. I think that's how conspiracy starts. Like you hear about it, you start researching, and then you start believing it because you spend so much time reading about it that you're like, oh yeah, why is the world not flat? Like it's
Why
totally
is the world
obvious,
not flat?
right? They're like it makes so much sense that the world's flat, and then you just get into it, and then you to start making your own vlogs and trying to prove the world's flat, and then
Yeah, I like that. I like that. That's the type of person that just fucking amuses me to no end. Like that is next level shit. Like you get the guy that just wants to one up other people, but he does it in a way where he goes deep dives into conspiracy theories to one up other people. Like that.
Yeah,
I feel like that should be like a one day a Freud-like figure should do like a decades-long research project on people like that. You should observe them like in a zoo and see what makes them tick.
I don't
That's
know. It's
fucking
just
insane.
I think it's just the whole deep diving. Like you're learning this new skill or this world is. I think
Yeah,
whenever
man.
something's new, it's interesting. But like you said, like sword collecting. Like, do you still collect swords, or you're out?
No, man, it's what am I gonna do? I mean, like I got the swords that I wanted, and I was younger,
Yeah.
and I was more into it back then. But like,
How did you
it's
cut yourself from it? Like, how
no,
did
I
you
didn't cut
decide?
myself from. No.
Oh, okay.
Like, back then I also took martial arts. So then
Yeah.
that was like, oh yeah, this is all cool
Oh
stuff.
yeah,
So
it built on top of it.
well, yeah, because you learn, the sword that I was taught was just like this flimsy foil thing, right? So then I was like, I want to get the real thing and shit, right? And waste some
Alright.
money on that. But I mean, like at the end, like I just stopped. I didn't never gotten crazy into it. There are
Yeah.
people that get crazy into it. Like you can get swords, custom made swords that are just as expensive as Rolex watches, like car level
I
of
bet.
price,
I
right?
bet.
And it's
So-
and it's
Mhm.
and it's just artificial. It's literally artificially like that because it's like you just try to find some one old dude that fucking makes it. Like,
So where do you keep your sword? Like, do you still
I
have
have
it?
I have it
Display?
wherever. I have some of them just upstairs in the closet. I have some in the basement.
Nice. Would that be the place you go to if your burglar comes? You're like, ching, and then you're like,
Well, that's what I actually I did do that time when I got
I remember
fucking
you telling me
broken
about that.
into. I went
Oh,
and
shit.
grabbed the sword. But I mean, like, I don't know, like you know, we're in Canada. You fucking if I cut the burglar down with my sword, I'm going fucking jail, man.
yeah.
And then and then I told like calling the cops,
911
calling
operator.
the 911 operator. She's like, "Oh, you have anything to defend yourself?" Yeah, I have a sword, and she was like, this awkward silence. Oh, yeah, you can't have that when the police officers arrive. So I was like, okay, well,
Oh, she's nice.
yeah, well, they were gonna fucking lit me up if they came in and saw me with a sword or some shit like that. So
Yeah.
I mean, at the end, like it won't do much for you self-defense wise in Canada. Anyway.
You gotta spin that sword to block the bullets. Like,
I feel like
a Jedi.
no, I feel like it's just because it's a sword. It's even more taboo. I think if I picked up a baseball bat, that would have been more acceptable.
Yeah,
It's one of the
baseball
reasons
bat
I have
or
a baseball bat.
A kitchen knife, like you got a nice.
That would have been
Japanese kitchen
probably
knife.
more acceptable. Like you can imagine that if your court case came up and you fucking sliced the guy's head off or some shit. The judge is gonna look at it and be like,
knife.
yeah, it's like a sword. He's like, yeah, I'm not gonna be lenient on
I
this.
think part of that is because a sword is only meant for one purpose, whereas a kitchen knife or baseball bat, they're mainly meant
they'll be
for
like
other things.
There's gonna be that. Yeah, they're gonna be like that discrimination against you. Be like, why? What kind of law-abiding citizen has a sword?
I would. You know, it'd be awesome if you have the James Bond watch where she's the poisonous dart. He's like, yeah, I got this Rolex with the poisonous dart.
That would be the most useful Rolex ever invented.
I mean, I wouldn't say no if it was offered to me as a
That would just
self-defense item.
that would already blow all the other Rolexes out of the water
Yeah.
functionality.
Well, it would be hilarious because you would have to wind it, and you have to have a certain time that it goes off. But then the maintenance would be you can never let that clock run to that certain time because it'll shoot the dark
I
matter.
thought it was like a
Always-
button. It's like a certain button.
Yeah,
that
it's a
goes-
button. It's not like timed. That'd be impossible.
Yeah.
That's a terrible weapon.
Oh, I guess you could have two functionality. One's a quick release where you could shoot it manually, and one's
No, I would never. Okay, well, the time one, I think it has to be like you have to set it.
yeah.
So it's not like
okay.
always running and you always have to reset your
But
watch
it's like
out of fear
12
that it'll
hours
fire.
passes, you have to be afraid of like, oh god, it's time, it's gonna shoot.
Right? It's not like if you
Yeah.
buy like if you if you had like a hand grenade, you always have to like wind the fucking catch or whatever the fuck. The pin is always trying to get out. It's always trying to.
It's always a time bomb that you carry.
That would be hilarious. Yeah.
Yeah. So the sword, I mean, like it literally you just use it as collection item, and then
Yeah.
you're not gonna use it unless
Does
you
it-
want to go to jail. You're not gonna use
Does
it.
it still bring you joy? Do you like sharpen it?
Yeah,
Do you-
yeah. Sometimes I like maybe like once a year if I remember, I'll just oil it up and whatever just to
Cool.
keep it nice. Well, one thing I have found use for it is when I'm trying to like get rid of shit like cardboard box and stuff. I just use the sword to cut it up just for fun. Might as well get my money's worth.
Do you like build a house for it and you be like, I'm a barbarian. Cha cha.
Nah, it just feels much more fun than just taking the X-Acto knife and just fucking taking apart the box and might as well
Yeah.
slice it.
True.
Oh,
you
I
get
got
some
it.
more excitement
this.
and fun out of it.
It's
This
fun,
sword,
man.
This
Like
sword hockey's good.
I've cut watermelons. I did the whole thing where you cut the
Oh, you're
water
a fruit ninja.
jugs.
You're a fruit
Yeah,
ninja.
yeah. No, it's pretty fun. It's terrible for your sword, but you gotta clean it after and shit, and then you gotta maybe like resharpen and some
Yeah.
stuff. But it's really fun.
See, like
Um,
as soon as you talk about cleaning, that whole idea of ownership comes into my head. It's like, oh my god, all this maintenance. But yeah,
Well, that's literally all you're gonna get for it. And if I was gonna get even if I ever was one of those people that got really deep into it, then I can just imagine myself just becoming the worst. I mean, like, I don't know, like just sometimes when people collect stuff, depending on what it is, they can get like so elitist. You
Oh,
know,
for
like
sure.
so
yeah,
snobby.
the people that go on the deep end of these hobbies.
Yeah, and like swords, you can definitely go into the deep end, and to boot, as an additional like fucking DLC, you just become this gross fucking weeb.
did you ever catch yourself when you started realizing you're getting deeper? Like, when you
No,
started-
because I wasn't really. I only have like. I never bought like a Japanese katanas. The swords that I have are like the Chinese ones, which pretty much are the same.
Mhm.
Right. It's just that it's just brand. One would be a katana, the other is not a katana.
right?
It's just a literal weeb made up brand, right? Cause,
Yeah, they'll be like,
Cause-
it's not from the right craftsmanship.
Yeah,
and
you
da-
got to
da-
get a Hatari Hanzo.
Yeah, that's
Exactly.
okay. This is that's the kind of the fucked up thing too, because in there is no distinction between like katana and another sword that is like a one-edged sword. Like back then, it was just it's all written with the same Chinese character too, right? And so it's a lot of this like mysticism and like, oh, that's not a katana, this is a katana. Like, it's almost a lot of it is born from fucking weebs. Because it is. There's no difference between the Japanese katana and the Korean, one-sided sword and the Chinese one-sided sword, right? Like there'll be like some like historical stuff, right? There's historical context, but the way of making it and everything, and just if you take three of them that look almost exactly the same, like
Oh, you're going to that realm of like mine diamond versus lap diamond now.
well, it is, right? Like it is artificial. A lot of that stuff is artificial, but
Yeah,
but it's just the hostility of the fandom, right? When you get
Yes, yeah.
they can get ridiculous.
they can get ridiculous. Anyways, I gotta end this.
All right, yeah, let's do it.
That's a good idea.
All right, thanks
I thought
everybody
that was
for-
how we were going to end it.
that's a good idea. And
That was a good idea.
Yes, all right,
thanks
thanks,
everybody listening to our latest episode. Like, comment, subscribe, all that
Comment
jazz.
on your crazy hobbies.
Yeah, on however you can. I don't
Find
comment
out.
on Twitter. Comment on whatever. I don't know. We don't
Mail
read
us
any of that.
in.
Yes, mail it to Jason's address and email Jason if you have any questions, concerns, comments.
If it gets to me, good on you for finding it. But I will have to move.
Yeah,
I think
you will.
we did advertise how they could reach us. Isn't there a verbal laxative email
Yep, verbalaxative
or
at
Twitter?
gmail.com, verbalaxative Twitter handle,
Verbal
like at
Laxative YouTube
verbalaxative.
channel, Verbal
Ah,
Laxative, everything.
Yeah,
we're good.
surprisingly, verbalaxative is not a name that other people have used. Weird.
We're good then. We're good then. All right, signing out.
All right, see ya.
All right, take care.
Good night.